Hey, welcome to the podcast with Dave, and he's over here. And we're going to be talking about how to use OP to grow in this video. That's the NI theme. Now, I'm a lead SE person, so ESFP. So, like, we'll see how much we can stick to that topic. But yeah, welcome, Dave.
All
How's it
right.
going?
Really good. Thanks for setting this up. Yeah, good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. And I'll acknowledge for a second, I'm like calling this podcast at this time the Abundance Mindset Podcast. And so,
Yeah.
like, kind of have a lens, a loose lens and filter of abundance because so much of our world is kind of viewing things through scarcity, like the economy's
Yeah,
down, this
sure.
is down, and has kind of this pessimistic lens of like complaining. People are complaining to Elmo now on Twitter. Uh,
Really?
and yeah, it's so funny. He did a wellness check. He's like, just checking in. How's everyone doing? And everyone just trauma dumped Elmo.
Really? I missed that
Um,
one. I heard
oh my god,
Peterson
it
saying
just
something.
happened this week, so that's some
Okay, I got to
SE
catch
for
that
you.
one.
You
I love that
gotta
kind of
catch that
stuff.
one. There'd be a good Q&A on that. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, like America and like everyone is just full of this trauma shit. Like, what are we doing about it?
They took it out on
Like,
Elmo.
took it out on fucking Elmo, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
That's great.
But yeah, so the aim of this particular episode, this podcast, is to talk about how to grow using OP. Now, I'm viewing OP as like a map, and
Yeah.
growing is kind of like growing your character. So how are you kind of viewing that? Like, why is self growth an essential part of OP?
Yeah, right. Yeah, a big thing I have been seeing more and more over time is, in fact, time is the longer scope of your age, the happiness curve type of framework of living according to grading yourself according to your weight class. If you're in your 20s, grade yourself according to 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. And just seeing how real that is. And my favorite part is like actually getting older, like being 46. So it's like, coming up on the halfway mark of life or whatever, or at the halfway mark. So it's like getting the sensory. So it's not just like I'm a 29-year-old theorizing anymore. Just seeing the reality of how much the time is, and just the thing with the ops code, or I would say ops code is really it's really not that special. It's not that amazing. Like look at AI that's coming out, and then Apple with their goggles. Like how fast and how boring does that stuff get? Like okay, great. It's just a faster calculator or whatever, and like it just our life goes back to boring. So ops is really not that amazing or whatever. It's just giving you very, very specific, accurate, detailed labels to stuff that you're already going to know when you're 60. It's really that simple. So it's hard to give a young person, somebody like pre-40, the clarity and the precision and the exactness, because you're just telling them the end of the movie and they haven't lived it yet. So they're kind of like, wait, what? And then some people, if they're pushing for it and they want to do the self-growth, like they can kind of navigate through, but the burden is on them. If you're pre-40, pre-50, if you're like in your 20s and you're into ops, like a lot of that burden is you've got to trust the math that, wait, if I'm an EP, this happens. Like that hasn't happened yet. No, it hasn't happened yet, but it eventually will. And as the decades roll on, you really start to get that wear down, and then you start to feel it, and then you start to really see it, live it, and then get trapped by it. So much of ops, really, the jet engine doesn't turn on until the person is, post 30s, 40s, 50s, post crash. They have to see themselves hit that rock bottom, the Steve-O's, where they finally burn themselves out and they're finally like, okay. And then they themselves are going, oh, I keep doing this. And they will then describe their own type. If they're an EP, they're going to say, I keep causing chaos and getting controlled if I'm of this type. So they say, and then you're like, oh, here's the labels for that. And then that's about it. Then it gives them the exact the wordage for it. But then you're still now back to real life of like, okay, how do I now balance these weird imbalances in myself? So it's not something that like it's like, imagine walking up to like some normal person at the mall and they're totally fine and healthy, and be like, hey, would you like to get on a drug rehabilitation program? But like, no, I don't really need to. I'm not on drugs. I'm not dying of a drug overdose. Like, yeah, but you will someday. They're like, yeah, but I'm not right now. So it's like, I get it, where a lot of people will be like, well, what do I need ops for growth? And you're like, okay, let me check out your life. And you like look around, and you're like, actually, right now you don't. You don't. Now you will. You fucking will. As the decades stack on, you will, but maybe not right now. You do. So I've actually been telling a lot of young kids that are like positive, good kids. They're in their mid-20s, and their life is not total destruction. I'm like, just keep going. Keep this in the back of your mind. So in the next 10 or 15 years, when you eventually do run yourself into a ditch, don't camp out in that ditch for 10 years. Don't become an alcoholic. Don't think life is unfair. Don't stay there. But once you get in the ditch, be like, oh, this was that sleep last thing that I know about. And so you can spend a much shorter amount of time down in hell learning your lessons because you're prepped, ready for it, and then jump back up on the line. And so I'm seeing that actually happening, you know?
Yeah, shout out to the sleep last people. We love you and we want you to take care of yourself and forget what we want. Like, hopefully, you want to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that there's a lot there. And myself as having demon sleep, like, it's definitely a big thing. And every single last animal has its own story. Um, you know, we could have gotten into this later, but what I want to ask about is like it seems like you're working on profiles, and Dave, you've been doing a lot of writing on and off, but like pretty much on recently, and you've been doing a lot of writing. Like, is the profile something you want to talk about? Or
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
yeah, so like, how's that going to be helpful? Like, because being aware of your self patterns like that does lead to, hey, maybe I can grow, or maybe I can stop being, treating myself so badly, or stop avoiding the same kind of
Right.
problems.
Right.
Yeah, how are the
Exactly. Yeah.
profiles coming into this?
Profiles are going really good. So it's taken me, it's something like from day one, we've realized this is where, a personality code goes. You got to do profiles. I've always wanted to do them later. I've always wanted to wait until there's a lot more people here. But I've just kind of realized I'm like, all right, I can get an unofficial version 1 done and then kind of set up the framework of really building the system so it can be constantly updatable, forever. So people can go like, I got my profile. I got version 1, number 307. So like actually have them kind of numbered and stuff like that. And then as things kind of get updated and added to, there'll be something to kind of build on. So I don't fully know how to like do all that in the ST yet, but that's kind of coming. So for right now, I just got to do the hard work of just writing it. So I started that in August of last year, and then I'm just doing my writing thing. We're just up early in the morning, getting a few hours of work of just straight writing, and doing what a lot of these Alex Ramosi, and there's another guy, Ryan Dorsey or something like that. He's an ISFP guy. He does like productivity and stuff. And it's actually very true of like rolling out of bed and just dropping right into your hardest task. No workout, no cold shower, no nothing. You just roll right into your hardest task, and that definitely has been the best way I found, because you only have so much like bullshit energy you can deal with each day, and if you waste a lot of that like on workouts and cold showers and other things, it's like it ends up being so much harder. Anyway, so I finally got into a really good flow where I really enjoy my day. It's like way too busy. I don't like that much of it, but it's like that part of it, but very productive. So doing the writing, and then the writing is going, it's what I'm fucking around with the clients. With the Dave audios, or the video typing and then sending people an audio. So this is all part of my IJ plan. Like I'm never doing anything that's not 2 years. Like I can't even think in less than 2-year brackets, So it's like a year or two ago, I started getting involved with the video typing more and going, I need to prioritize that, because I really have to blast play out what is the actual accurate things that are working in people's lives. And, so it's just like, I'm just throwing shit at the wall of like, hey, for your type, this is what I see Ed Milet doing. So try this, and I'll throw it, and then I'll just watch, and I'll just wait for the tribe feedback and what kind of bounce backs, and people will write you a couple months later, and the updates and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of framing out like, okay, hit, miss, kind of getting things like, okay, that works. And then getting that dialed in, kind of the presentation of it. And then therefore, because I need to have, you know how it is. It's like you'll have like a ready to go pocket version answer for 1 out of 16 of the coins or whatever. Like if somebody asks you about observer versus decider, you're like, oh, I can get that one. But then if they ask you like, NE or FE, you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that one or whatever. So working to get all of the right answers aligned with objective reality in a very fast, fun, easy state, just by putting in thousands of reps. That's why I'm just like leaning into the video typing, because I'm just using that as my blast play, workout realm. And then from there, the more I do that, the more everything just gets calm. I get more settled on what the answers are, what the problems are. Just watching a lot of videos, man. It's just I'm watching people's videos all day. And so I'm really just able to just download the stories of what people are going through, and then plus the videos for the class and stuff. So it's like I'm not coming across a lot of things that I haven't heard before, So then from there, it's framing out profiles of like, like, okay, so here comes this kid, and I'm like, all right, so what would work for that? And trying to simulate it out the audios or the notes or whatever. So anyways, the writing is the first version of the profiles. Let me tell some damn sensory.
Sure.
The first version of the profiles are there. It's very ingeniously written in modules where so it's like it's going to start with, gosh, there's so much things going on in my head. So say you get it for your friend, right? So it's easier to see somebody else, right? So say you want to get your friend typed, you have them come through, and the video typing process will be more cleaned up. It'll be more like normal people friendly rather than like fuck you and get out of here. It's going to be, you know, a nice process inviting them in. And so they do the video typing, they do the videos, and so they get back a profile, and it's like, say they don't know much about ops. That's kind of the main direction I'm going is seeing that a lot of people are bringing their friends and family in. So they don't know anything about ops, they don't know anything about the code or whatever. So what do you hit them with? Now you got to get somebody in that aha moment rather early. You can't talk and talk and talk, and they're like, I don't know. There's a lot of disclaimer talk. I don't know. I guess kind of really. So you got to hit them with something that they are like, oh my gosh, that is me. So I found that like you actually got to put the social types not at the bottom of the profile, actually go at the top. Because what I'm finding with clients is the human mind doesn't seem to fight the social types, and it doesn't seem to fight the sexuals either. But goddamn, if it doesn't fight the functions and the temperament and the stuff like that, you know. So it's like, okay, so the socials go at the top, and so everybody's profile will have a couple of chapters that will be the same as everybody else's. So the one chapter of like, okay, let me get you warmed up on what socials are. Let me get a nice, clean introduction paragraph for your mom so she has some idea what we're talking about, and then just drop right into whichever social type she is. There's social type 3 or whatever. It's like, okay, then it's going to talk about the social type 3s. And then there's a structure of the paragraph structure of the social type 3. There's like 5 paragraphs. The first one is like kind of like, this is what they look like in real life. And so like I'll add in anything specific that I possibly can, all the good sensor details of what this is, the kind of jobs, just all the funny little anecdotes I've picked up kind of go in that first one. And then it just breaks down. The next 4 paragraphs are about their you know, social needs in order. This is what it's like to have specialization at the top, and this is what this looks like. And then it's just straight fucking highway robbery, because I'm like, I'm stealing just gold that I've gotten from the community, like all these best stories, because nobody's putting it, you know, if you're active in the community or on the forums and stuff, like you'll see a lot of the same patterns. But like, imagine what I'm looking at, because I'm just getting emails and I'm just like getting so much from so many people.
You're drinking from the fire hose,
right? That, man.
Yeah,
that.
Dude.
So it's finally
it is. Yep.
Yeah, so it's been a relief to be able to put this in writing and get it out. You know, it just takes me a while to struggle through the dyslexia of the keyboard and stuff, which I have pretty bad, it turns out.
You know what strikes me, like when you're talking about these profiles, they seem to be kind of a layer of your own specialized. Like, I think this is something that you know, the thing about Dave being a number 2, you know, the thing that I think we all see in the community, I'm not sure how much you see or value this in yourself, but there's a certain thing that happens when you're talking or about things where you really get it. Like when I got typed and I could hear stuff from you, I'm like, wow, I really feel seen. I feel like Dave's talking to me. And I'm just, I would like to compliment you on that ability that you have, where when you do write about these profiles, like it's kind of this generic, for example, ESFP, but I'm like, wait, Dave's talking to me. And it's like, wait, how does he know? It's because he's talked to 100 ESFPs and he really has put in the friend energy and the time to really get to know this person is really struggling with blast, like the thing that I'm doing easy. And like, you've had the empathy over the years to like talk to people, you know, wherever it is, over email or however, that, hey, like, let me actually try to help you out.
Yeah.
And you've put in the reps. Like, this is what people don't get about Dave. Is like, yo, Dave has put it. Actually, maybe people do get.
They'll see. They'll see. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You've done a lot of the reps to get to the place where you can write a very powerful profile. Your writing can be really good, as well as like the specialty of typing. But that's a whole other topic. But like, I think your writing is on point, and you could see it even in like some of the Q&As. Like if you look up whatever type you are and find a Q&A about it, then it's really on point.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Thank you for those words of affirmation. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate you know, being seen in that area, and I do see that, like, yeah, people are going to see, like, when I really put my name. So I guess like it's not that I don't have specialize, I have it less. It's not that I don't have consume, I have it less. And so this is just the area of like, because I'm ignoring everything else in life, like this is the one thing that I am just going all crazy nuts into. And then it's hard to like connect it to, okay, now I have to get it to work with my savers and I have to research it, but then I also have to produce it. And that's hard or whatever. So I really appreciate that. It's definitely like, I remember in the RC days, like there were planes, especially later on, that we just had to shit out, and I'm just like, oh man, because you just had to get them out the door. And like you can see, like some of the Q&A videos, I'm like, look, I had 20 minutes, I just shit this out. I'll get you a better one next week or whatever. But every once in a while, you're like, motherfucker, this one. Like we had a couple of planes that, like to this day, I like have built foundations of my confidence based off the X36 that I flew on Thanksgiving Day 2008. Like you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's things that'll come around for myself, like maybe once every 10 years or less, where I'm like, okay, this is me cranked all the way up, very proud of it, put into my specialization, my flex or whatever. But it's just so hard to get there because I'm doing all this other extroverted stuff. So yeah, having the ability to do profiles where I won't commit to a day when they're going to be done, like because I'm seeing that you know, the writing will probably be done the next few months or so, but then it's just like, then the hard part starts. Then I have to go over it again and again and again, just put in the blast sleep reps to just, it's just like when I had a plane that would work. It's not like, okay, it works, ship it. It's like, no, now you go out and you put in hundreds of hours of your own flight hours. You'd be like, how come every time when you go on that left-hand turn downwind, that tail wiggles like that? What is that? And you got to like get these little tweaks and then when you have it done right, it's just a magical experience. I was logged into the RC, like on my editing computer, it's logged into the other thing or whatever. And I, can't fucking, and so like accidentally it's like showing me videos from the RC and it's like, RC Powers Hydro 2024. And I'm like, God damn it. They're still flying these fucking things. And they're like, we can't get rid of these RC Powers planes because nothing has got the I don't want to say thousands, but hundreds of hours of subtle in-field tweaks to where my own self at my own DI, I feel weird. Like I'm sound like I'm flexing now, but I'll get it to where it's like, okay, this is beyond the best of what I can do. Now take it to the focus group. And I've got about 15 or so people that are going to be getting the rough versions of the profiles. People that I have found. So here's my criteria.
Yeah.
Have I been in contact? Are you a good emailer? Are you a good communicator? And have you been the past year? Or is every other email, hey, type my mom and type my dog and arguing and blowing light. Hey, Dave, come fix it. Like if there's, somebody's a nice, pleasant back and forth. And I'll be like, okay, this is the type of person. Then if I send them a profile like, hey, could you read this over and make some tweaks and adjustments and not fucking wreck my life about it? They're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I have a bunch of people like that then there's that whole phase, but you really have to be, you have to have a lot of time because it's so hard. You just want to write it and be like, this took everything, just take it. I don't want to hear it. Like, God damn, I have that so bad, and everybody does, but to be like, nope, I still have 40% more left in the tank. And if it takes another 4 months to have the tribes back and forth, because they might, they will unveil stuff that I didn't even think about. And I got to go back and redo this and redo that.
I think, the thing is, like, I talked to some 3s and 4s, and I feel like, I think my current type of what I'm thinking is my wife. My wife is probably a number 4. What I'm seeing with the specializers and stuff is that when you give them a gift like a profile, like they're going to use it and they're going to be very upset if it doesn't end up working, and then you don't end up helping them make it good, or like if they have to ask 20 questions to make it worthwhile.
Right.
And so what I'm seeing happening, right? Like, so what's the next level of OP? It's February, it's early in 2024. Like for me, what I'm thinking is like, what is the state of union for OP? Like this is the number 1 president talk. Like, this is what I look at. This is the question I ask myself of like, hey, like how is this community doing? What are the people who are typed of, is their life going up or is it going down? Are they suffering? Is there tragedy? Is there more tragedy? Is there better circumstances? Are people moving up? Anyway, so like when I think about the profiles and stuff like that, it's like, how do we get it to a place where it's actually helping people? And I believe that it would. And the thing, one of the big discoveries in talking with you is like, dude, like Dave is a really good guy. And like, if there's an issue, like it's just a matter of like, the work isn't done yet, or maybe there's some
Yeah,
like
it's that. It's my
like
consume last tidal waves. Yeah, totally.
someone might need to see a very specialist therapist or something if they've been
Yeah,
through a particular type of trauma. So I think some people, when it comes to like OP, like you need something bigger, better, specialized for your specific
right.
situation,
I can't
your
help you through
specific.
email on life trauma. Yeah,
But what the profiles seems to like, what I feel like it'll be able to do is it'll be able to like kind of really help people kind of see a lot of the problems, and if it's within that articulation, they'll be like,
yeah,
okay, that's good. But you have your outliers that are like, hey, that's I'm kind of an outlier for my type, and I've been through
right,
a lot of hell. Like maybe I need to see a specialist for this,
right.
as opposed to coming to you. But so how do we tie the profile to like growth? Like, how is this going to help people
Yeah,
kind of grow and deal with their challenges in their life? Like, what do you envision?
right.
Like, someone
No,
gets
totally.
this,
Yeah, because
yeah.
I know what you mean. Because it's like after discovering the personality code, and I probably I remember I was like sitting on the couch down the basement, the old house, and I think Shanny and I were fighting, so I might have even been sleeping down there for a couple of nights. Just really dark, hard times. And I remember like that. Though I think it was like one day I could probably picture in the darkest times of like I think it was the first time I mapped out the 128 and like I looked at it. I'm like, this looks really genetic. Like because you're piecing this together. I had no idea. But like when it actually hit me of like, oh shit, this does seem to be a legit personality code. Like really quickly that wears off to, oh fuck, what do I do? And so for myself, that's just why I'm just all in on Hero's Journey. That's why I'm like a new coin, like socials. I'm like, oh damn it, like it's just like computer code, like personality code. Now there's more. I'm like, oh crap. Now it's very helpful, obviously it's very helpful, but it's like I'm not a super like Cody or code into the code or the personality of or all the patterns. I'm kind of over all that stuff. And now it is for me. I'm just like, how the hell do I get out of this madhouse that I can see that I'm trapped in? Like all I'm about is like, how do we use this as a tool for growth, or how do we use this as a tool that allows us to see the other tools that are used for growth? I think it's more probably that direction. Like, anyways, with the profiles, it's like it's starting like it's a whole the amount of dimensions to the profiles is why it's been very ingeniously tricky to try and build these things right, because part of the dimensions of the profile is it has to start with your mom, and let's say she has a lot of trauma. Let's just use some person as an example. Say they have a lot of trauma, say they have a lot of healing they haven't got started on, say they don't know anything about ops. I'm starting with like one of the hardest clients that I could possibly deal with and then work from there. So it has to start in a positive, easy way where they're reading the socials. They're getting Darren Brown. It's a very much an NIFI Darren Brown. Like I can Darren Brown you if you fall into my little trap. I can't Darren Brown you out here. I can Darren Brown you if you fall in here. And so the first chapters is getting them in of having them really see the socials, because they can see that and they're like, yeah, that, oh my gosh, wait, what are the other ones? No, I'm not that. I am this one. Oh my gosh, there's so much about me. It's also very positive. The socials aren't really threatening to people. And so then from there, it drops them down into, okay, now let's start talking about observer and decider. And so there it talks about, this is what the deciders do, and then just paints a clown house story. And so they're like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. And then here's the observers, paints a clown house story. They're like, oh my gosh, I literally did lose my keys and blame it on my neighbor yesterday, or whatever anecdote is in there, or whatever. So it gets them to go, oh shit, this, I didn't know that. And this is actually true. Then it drops down and down. Then it gets down to the first function, where it'll get more detailed and talk about if you're an ENFP, you might have red hair, So they get these wow, you know what I mean? People go, oh my gosh, this thing's magic. Then it's like you get them down this funnel. So you're starting here, you're trying to get the magic trick where they're like, oh my gosh, you know everything about me. Like the people in Jesus's life, they're like, this guy's a prophet.
Yeah.
I want that kind of feeling. And they come down, and then before they drop, there's a squeeze point where then it starts to get a little bit like, yeah, and here's what the life tidal waves are. Here's what the fears are. Here's what the pains are. Here's what the nightmares are about. And so now you're crossing a line where you're getting very personal with somebody, because here you were just this entertaining horoscope that was really cool and interesting. And that's how you got them in. Then you squeeze a little bit and talk about the pain and the problems. And then if it's done right, you've got somebody down all the way through that, where you now have connected with the reader, that you can now start to tell them, so if you ever want to kind of like get out of this stuff, you see how you're double observing here but not double deciding there? It's really just kind of the same math. It's really pretty simple. You're halfway there. And like, see how you can see your friend? It's just you doing that. And then, you know, here's Ed Milet. You can kind of like follow what he's doing because he's kind of the same type as you. So you could just, you know, if you want, if you could. So then from there, it's trying to very gracefully give some, without getting preachy about it, just kind of give the same data approach of like, here's what we are seeing at this time of people that are having the same problems as you. These are how this is how you wreck your life. Do it in an extreme degree. Keep doing this, and here's how those are getting out. And then kind of trying to write out a framework of what the hero's journey would be. And that's been like another series of equations. I'm like, how the hell would I know what the equations of the hero's journey would be? Like how would you say what an objective? It's just like giving somebody a manual for life. You're like, here you go, kid. Here's how you get out of hell and be successful. Like that's the most hardest question in life to answer. Like, what's the meaning of life and how do I make my life better? But I think it's like, I think though, like part of the responsibility of ops, like fucking getting the personality code, you're more than halfway there, is taking a run at it and being like, look, here is what we're seeing in the weekly classes. Here's what we're seeing of these kind of frameworks of you do got to understand the happiness curve. You can't be judging yourself as a 20-year-old compared to a 60-year-old. You do got to have balance. You have to have mathematical balance. You have to play the game of catch a few 3 or 4 times a day. If you're an observer, you got to fucking catch that, you know, because otherwise it's stacking up, you know. So that there's a few things that I know are the masculine sensory, you know what I mean? There's a few of those that are like, these are undeniable. These are, if you go listen to any success story out there, that you're going to have a few of these variables that just will not stop coming up. And then just trying to get those in the right order at the end, you know. I haven't written that part yet. I'm going to save that to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell I'm going to write that. But yeah.
I'm like feeling the need to like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who kind of get this thing are they're either in the class or they're from the class. So I'm just like going to plug your website because like, honestly, a lot of the stuff is there. So what I'm trying to say is like the terms list that you have, that's one thing. And then there's a Q&A, like the Q&As, the classes that are on your website, like you walk through kind of like the TI or like the TE problem of like, hey, what solution is there? But then you kind of go back to the FI and the FE problem, the feeling, you know, like, hey, do you feel like this? Hey, are you going through this? Or are you like, you know, you're wondering why you're not happy, and then you look at the thing like the happiness curve, or just in general, like, you know, a lot of these topics, you're covering it and you're dealing with it, like, because the more you learn about your own personality, the more consistently you're running into like the same issues, and stuff, and
Yeah, I think the classes and the Q&As, it's just like we're just repping those out and then just creating a massive SE pile. And I remember the Kevin Bacon class we did a couple of years ago. I don't even remember what it was about. I remember the feeling, the masculine FI feeling of having a massive conclusion of like, oh, this is what the IPs are going through. And a big part of the puzzle was connected and displayed very well through the Kevin Bacon class, or the footage and the stuff that he was like honestly sharing and talking about, that Shan and I were actually able to grab and connect and put together and then build off of that. So I'm feeling like in all this SE shit pile of all these videos we're doing, I am seeing, I don't know, maybe like 1 out of 7. You'll see this in the class, like 1 out of 7, one will come through and be like, whoa. And then like we're on to the next one. I'm like, I'll get you. I'm going to come back around and collect of like, okay, if you're an IP, you know, we've done hundreds of videos on IPs. Let me go, okay, you're going to want to see this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And here's kind of your playlist of, out of all the videos we've done on IP, these are the ones that really quickly and easily show you the damn story, the universal story, the objective story that you're going to figure out by the time you're 70 anyways. You get some of these really great clips from Kevin Bacon or whatever that just spells it out. Then you watch the other IP story from the other guy, and he's saying the same damn thing, and they're not even talking to each other. And that's where really quickly somebody's brain can be like, okay. And then they're just, it's monkey nap time. They're like, okay, I see that. I get it. You know what I'm saying? So seeing that will probably end up, you know, playlists and stuff like that are going to be involved. So when people are reading the profiles, they're like, this is fascinating. How do I say like, oh, you're going to, rather than be like, just join the class, and then like join. They're like, there's videos everywhere. Where do I start? Wherever. And then they're just, you know,
The
So
thing that I
that
get, yeah,
yeah.
is just like for me as like a lead SE person, like for me, what's hard is like the NI understanding and like watching your content, watching your videos. Like I'm actually able to download that for myself, understand that, not
Right.
be the asshole in the room. Like for me, for example, social type was a big thing, but also something as far back as helping people, saving the drowning. Like when you're trying to save the drowning, like there's a hard lesson that you and Shan learned yourselves when you're trying to help people who are not trying to help themselves. When you're trying to
Right.
be there for the townsfolk, for example, who are, it sounds disrespectful, but honestly, it's not that you hate anyone or you don't like anyone. It's that you've tried to help the townsfolk, the people in your life, the family, the friends.
Yeah.
You've tried. You've
Sure. Yeah.
burned all the energy in the world. You've stopped helping yourself and you try to help this
Yeah. Yeah.
other person, and it doesn't work out. And it's like maybe you have a best friend, maybe you have a partner, a spouse,
A
and
son. We have a
yeah.
13-year-old, and you gotta be ready to love somebody by not getting upset at them, because you gotta wait for them to come back around. Yeah, that took me a long time to learn
And
that.
that's what I have like the limitless gratitude for. That like people, I understand if people don't get it, like because I've
Yeah.
been there
Right.
before, not getting it or feeling like there's too much control or like, hey, is this a cult? Like I get it. I've been there. I'm an EP. I'm an observer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got certain fears that I've been through, worked through, and
Yeah. Right.
all that. But like the thing is, like, and I'm seeing this with a lot of like quote unquote like cults or just in general, like people who have discovered meaning. Let's say
Yeah.
let's
Right.
let's put it that way. Like people who have discovered some kind of NI, and OP it has a lot of this NI, like this
Uh-huh.
categorical understanding
I
of
know.
problems that people are SE consistently running through,
Yeah.
and NE predictable
Yeah.
SI,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
all just gets predictable and it feels very funnily. And there's
Yeah.
something about when you look at a funnel and when you look at a sales page and when you talk to a salesman or a coach, oh yeah, those words, we love those words. We love
Right. Sales
telemarketers,
funnels.
right?
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody love telemarketers? Like we love these people. No, we don't.
No. Right.
We
Right.
fucking
They're
hate
the
them,
most
right?
hated. Yeah.
And
Right.
so it's like, hey, like what if they're onto something? What if the telemarketers are right? No, I'm
I
joking.
know.
Uh,
I know.
but like that's the thing. Is like when you run into it, and you actually start seeing like what is I'm not freaking promoting telemarketing. That's
No,
uh, that's
I
not that's
get
not
your
good. Just like,
analogy totally. No, I
but yeah,
follow you.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I very much know what you mean. I'll see this in I like the approach of Jordan Peterson and a lot of others where if you go back to the original Carl Jung stuff, he was really scared. He definitely, and he's looks like, I'm sure that we all know that he sees more than we do. Like just his age, his brilliance, that he was able to like pick these coins out of the sky working with Freud. So it's like that guy, and you see it in Peterson. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in the weight that he carries, that he sees the realms of hell the rest of us might have caught a glimpse of here or there. And Ops will definitely get you some good glimpses of that stuff. And so they have a way about them where they're like, yeah, this isn't for everybody. This is not. It doesn't make sense that most people would go down this road. And just being like, yeah, you can't think that Ops is like Myers-Briggs or whatever. Like this is not something that you hand out to everybody. It is definitely something that you do. Just my stupid limited. I'm seeing NI more. Like when I did the deep dive on NE, I was able to like see NI a lot more. Like I can't stop seeing myself doing it, especially like consume last NI. So it's like I'll just have like these childhood patterns or childhood feelings that I'll make something current relate to it. So it's like Ops is like the A team. If you have a problem that nobody else can solve and everyone else says go to hell, and it's unfair and off the record and shouldn't exist and it's impossible. And if you could find them and pay them and figure it out, maybe you could hire the A team. So it's like the A team is not on the corner saying, hey, if you got a problem, we'll bring down BA Baracus with a set of AK-47s and take care of your shit. Like they're not advertising, they're not inviting people in. It's something to where somebody's got to be in a very deep, dark part of their life, or have an intense, I think as well, have an intense intellectual curiosity about it. Because I am seeing that separately. I am seeing people that they intellectually are very curious. And I think in today's age, people can intellectually process information that traumatized the previous generation, like you're seeing this in all throughout technology, that some people are like, yeah, great, let's look into it. It doesn't mean they're necessarily emotionally going through it or whatever, but yeah, I definitely have deeply understood and settled with. I think the RC background kind of helped me with that, where it's like the type of planes we were doing were not for beginners. It was more for advanced people. So it was like there was never an expectation that everybody should get into this. And if people said this is hard and dumb, like that was the expected response, you know. But yeah, it's knowing, just continue to take care of yourself and those in the current community. And then that person that you bump into that might upset you, just know, like, they'll come around. Just wait another 20 years. They'll be around.
Oh
They'll come
man, I
back
love
around.
that. I love that so much. You know, like that's the thing that I've kind of gone through, like, you know, dealing with the material, you know, and being part of the community at least, you know, I've seen stuff on Reddit, I've seen stuff on Facebook, I've been part of the Facebook groups, I've been part of the Discord. I'm a moderator on the Discord. I see Jana in the comments.
Hey,
Give
Jenna.
her a little give her a little shout out real quick.
Yeah,
She
she's
says
great.
hi Dave and Habib. Um, she's really great.
Yeah.
Love Jana. Uh, but like the thing is, like, people dealing with the material, I see people in the community, you know, you can, on one hand you can call some people, let's say, bullshitters, but at the same time, like, I have a lot of empathy for everyone, you know, like that's the thing. But then, like, who are you going to help, right? Like that's where I'm like, all right, let me do the coaching
Yeah.
thing, because like who's serious, like, I'm like, okay, I can actually help someone who's like actually kind of going through it
It's
and
the
trying
Jesus
to
coins, you know.
put their nose to the grindstone,
Yeah.
actually try to make some kind of change. But like some people are able to do it yourself, you know. There's a DIY, there's always your route, you know,
Yeah.
make your own bread, you know, like your
Yeah.
sourdough. You can always do that. And but you know, there's so much here.
Just real quick
And
on
I'm
that.
just
Real quick on
excited
that.
about it. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just real quick on that. Some
Yeah, yeah.
missing sensory that I forget about, and we saw this in the RC. This is in every business. Is like there's definitely a bell curve to customers, and this is in every single industry. And the people that you see on the forum, those are you, or any type of forum. It's usually the ones that are very excited. They're very into it in a positive or negative way. So it's a lot of intensity. It's a lot of energy. You'll have, like, when we had the RC stuff, it was the same exact metrics. It was the same exact numbers. And it was we had a forum, you know, an RC Powers forum, and plus we were on a lot of other forums as well. So it's like it was always the same guys. You always see the same people in the same group, and then there'd be the riffraff, and people would get upset. And there's the easy tiger. That was one guy I can remember. You know, there's always the guys that was causing trouble. Then you have the people that come in, and there'd be a drama. Either they'd be like super happy or super upset or whatever, and then they would just kind of go away. But like you forget that you're not seeing the other 80%. You're just seeing the 80% of the ones that like that nobody other sees. Like we see them in our membership. We'll see them in our numbers. Like we'll see them there, but like we don't get emails from them. And then when we do, it's very rare. It's just like a quick, you know, like life update. Because like with the RC stuff, for example, it's like the 80% of the guys like, yeah, just I bought your plane. Like, well, why weren't you on the forum? It's like, what do you mean? I was out flying my damn plane. Like, why would I be on the forum? You know? So a lot of people, like, you got to factor in most people you're not even seeing. Like Gary, I've been watching Gary Vee since 2008. Like, he doesn't know a damn. I'm not on any of his records. I watch this guy all the time. He has no idea I exist, and like that is the common viewer is just kind of watching Gary Vee from the outside, you know. So I do see a lot of that nobody else sees. I do get emails from people, and I do get messages from people, and I do know of people that they are just quietly watching the stuff. They're living their own life. They're like, wow, this is really fascinating, really interesting. I'm gonna use it for my life, and then they're just not on the online. So it's hard to factor that in, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I feel like taking a slight tangent to this, but like for me as a number one, like it's kind of the greatest feeling on earth when you help somebody. Like it's the friend's last energy for me.
Oh,
It's just
sure,
like, hey,
yeah,
can I fucking be there for somebody?
yeah,
Just one person. Can I actually be there for you?
right,
Can I just like not sell you shit? Can I just help you out? Like, what do you need?
right,
Let me
right.
do like that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. So if you ever see me promote anything, it's by accident. I didn't mean to. But really, you know, why I like talking to you, Dave, in this platform in this way is to really try to help the maximum amount of people in the op community to take us a little bit away from like this, you know, boxed in, like let's just say boxed in vibe. Let me not go too far there. Um, and try to, you know, talk about some of the positive things, what's working for people, what's not working for people. I remember a previous
Yeah.
interview, I tried to talk about the limitations of op, but it's more like, you know, if someone's talking to me, for example, about suicide, I'm completely unqualified. I'm like gonna have to direct you somewhere else, you know, like there's certain problems, you know, certain levels where you need some intensive other things. But if you are, let's say, like working a 9 to 5 and you're trying to, you don't like your family life, or you know things are kind of a slow burn, you're having a slow burn in your life and things are burning down around you slowly, like
Yeah.
you can do something about it. Like that's, I think, what this, you know, people who are living lives of quiet desperation, I think Joe Rogan said something about that. You know, it's like most men live in lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
It's this undercurrent of just like bad vibes and, you know, people are
Sure.
suffering, but it's like, hey, that person's suffering more than me, I can't say shit. So
Right.
like, um these are, you know, those are people I'm trying to help. I feel like this tool is good. This tool is good for that kind of situation, for if
Yeah.
you're going through that in your life. Like, is
Yeah.
that, do you see the kind of line between like, hey, like
Yeah.
person, I can't help you, I'm
Right.
sorry, I
Very
really
much
hope you
so.
do, like you have love
Yeah.
for these people, but like you realize, like, have you seen that line for you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like Shani and I, especially in the first, I think the first 3 years of the ops business, we said yes to everybody. So we were doing 1 to 2 phone calls a day each. We did a couple of meetups. We were just doing emails and audios just all day, constantly, just saying yes to everybody, and really following that from Gary Vee. Like in the first, you just say yes to everything and just let it sort out, ride through, because you don't know what you're looking at. So then after about 2.5, 3 years, started to kind of get the results back. You know, it's like the Jesus parable. Like, okay, so we gave out coins to everybody. It's now 2, 3 years later. What's coming back? And then you would notice, okay, so here's the same people with the same problems, or this person that I barely had any time for at all, they're taken off. And they were going to do that anyways. They just happened to talk to me real quick and they were going to do that anyways. And so Shani and I, especially in the first 4 or 5 years, really spent a lot of time going, okay, what is this? And therefore, like right now, like I still talk to people all day. I'm chatting with people like all fucking day, email, phone, or email audios, etc. But what I have found is like it's got to be objectivity. The biggest thing of like if somebody is just navel gazing, where they're just subjectively, there's no real weight on the bar, they don't really have that much of a problem, therefore they're just feeling negative and they don't know why. They're feeling upset, they don't know why, and they can't really blame their parents because it's not that bad, and they can't really blame their job because it's not that bad, they can't really blame them, they can't really, and they're just kind of in this. And so as soon as you come in, you're like, okay, let's get moving, let's help. They're like, yeah, you know, my problem is this. You're like, okay, let's address that. And then you go to, and then of course you know what happens. No, it's not that. No, it's this over here. And then it just turns into a never ending, just a never ending, and it's just an identity thing. I hate to trade teams, but goddamn, so fucking fast. I found out, not fast. I did not find this out fast. It took me a long time. Now I got it down fast, very fast. Now I just look at the identity. I'm like, oh, is this a type of person that is objectively trying to grow, and they're going to be growing with or without me? If the answer is yes, then it's like it just feels like cheating. It feels like investing. It's like, yeah, I want to invest in Amazon. They're going up. Yeah, I want to invest in this person. They're going up. And it's very sad because it's like you can't. It's not in the Bible. Like the Bible is supposed to, like, God only helps those that help themselves. I don't think the Bible does not say that. But it's that concept of you really can only help somebody that's already going to help themselves. And it's sad. It's definitely something that I still emotionally have a hard time with, where the people that need the most help are unhelpable, because if you go to help them, they'll just drown you as well. And I know it's like 48 laws of power type darkness, but go try it. Try it again. Try it
It's
again.
very, yeah, it's very simple. I think not simple. It's simple, but it's hard for me to come to the realization. But I'm like, as we're talking, like what the realization is, like what I feel like number one, two is doing, like what my goal is, like I'm realizing one of the goals is like, hey, like it's gonna be hard for me as a number one egotistical motherfucker, like to be a volunteer at a soup kitchen, which I'll do. I'll do that. But I want to help the person who is naturally volunteering every single week at that soup kitchen, and
Yeah.
I help this person feel secure, handle their 9 to 5 so that they
Right.
can do more effectively the nonprofit work. Like
Right.
for me as a DE, like I have to freaking accept the number one part of me that
Yeah.
like is
Right.
just allergic to friends energy. Like I was just hanging out with Dave Squirrel or something, or like we were talking about it at least, and like it was so hard for me to stay in that. Like
Yeah. Just
and I
fuzzy friend land. Yeah.
I relate
Yeah.
to you on like the Cody, the Roblox, you know, the
Yeah.
thing, the difficulty there. Like I relate so hard. I'm like, I want to be a good parent. I want to work at the soup kitchen, but I can't. It's so hard. It's biologically like my
Yeah.
blood is boiling. My
Yeah.
blood is fucking boiling when I'm at a
Yeah.
soup kitchen. You know, it's like I feel like I need to go. And so what I can do though is I would love to help the person who is working at the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
I would love to help these people. And that's kind of where I'm seeing I'm like, fuck, you know, like maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole. That's fine. So I'm willing to take on whatever criticism there is, but
Yeah.
I just want to be that kind of person. And I feel like the thing with op is like, hey, you know, like it really depends. Like that's kind of I'm seeing the ST of the NF of like the extroverted world, like it depends like who's at what place. Like
Yeah.
Dave, you have your sweet spot of who you can help. You're not
Right.
helping necessarily every single 80-year-old. You're
Right.
not helping necessarily every single 15-year-old. Like there is like an NEFE sweet spot
Yeah.
for like the type of person. Yeah.
Yeah. Finding out, you don't have to save everybody. You don't have to help everybody, but help as many people as you can, and then know what your tool set is. One thing that's helped a lot this past couple of years, and I think like understanding FE has helped us do this more of like, so for example, when Shandy and I see people around town, we like with the kind of demon friend energy, we like to tip really well. So we're really good tippers. And so they have the gas station attendants here where the people pump your gas. And for the most part, you can kind of tell you see the same person working there, and you can see like some drug habits or whatever, and they're not somebody that's really looking for help. They're not looking to transform their life or whatever. And so it's like it's been when we were younger, it's like, oh, if you're not self-growthing, then what's wrong with you, whatever. And now it's just like, no, it's more of a kind of a number one type thing of like, just give this person a gift, just give them love for the day. You don't have to try and like tangle up your life with them. You don't have to try and help them, and then you try and help them so much, and then they hate you, and then just creating another fucking mess. And you don't have to ignore them, or you don't have to be mad at them, but you can just give somebody just straight gift or straight love with no strings attached, no expectation, no back and forth, and then letting go of the outcome of like, I have to help this person and see them move up. And then you transfer the energy over here, go like, okay, then who the fuck can I help? And then you find your niche. Then you're like, look, because this is where I'm like blowing my brains out. It's like, hey, when there's two people in the room, wake up. There's three people in the room. That big one, that's called objective reality. Okay, that's the God, not you, not me. We have to serve that. This isn't about me and you. We've got to get over that objective thing. And so if somebody walks in, they're like, I'm the non-movable, like, okay, right. You left no equations for me or for objective reality, that we're now stuck and we can't get the thing done. And so if they're sitting there struggling with objective reality and they're like, I got to get over that hill. I got to figure out what's going on with my relationship. I got to figure out what's going on with my depression. I got to figure out what's going on with my time. It doesn't even matter what it is. That's why people get confused. Like, why did you help this person with XYZ and you didn't help this person? They have the same XYZ. I'm like, because the objective identity. One was actually going, all right, I have to figure out a way to do this no matter what. I don't, and the other one just like kind of just using it for, just expending complaining, just getting the energy out, So getting clear on that. That's why it's like when I'm talking to people, I'm watching them and I'm going, who are they? What are they up to? What are they doing? What are they going to do with or without me? And if I see them struggling to lift the thing, then learning how to get my skill set where I don't like that. There's so many ways to fuck it up. You run in like a number two and like, I'll just lift it for you. Great, jackass. Now they can't build the strength for themselves, and they just try to get that right to where you can help somebody, but they are also really putting in that work for themselves. But I think the biggest thing is, what is the objective outcome? What is the objective goal? There's got to be something that's holding all of us accountable as we're burning all these hours away. What is this going towards? So that's a big thing I look for, and then just being okay with if somebody it just feels bad and they want to complain and they want me to make them feel better. No, I don't do that. I don't make you feel better. I'm going to say bad words. I'm going to make you feel worse. Go ask somebody else if you
Yeah.
just need to feel better. I don't do that.
Dude, you're finding your role. And I mean, why I'm saying it like that, is because it feels like this is what I'm learning from the number threes. Now I wonder if Larry David is a number three, but like there was a funny thing with him. Oh my God,
Right.
never mind. The Elmo story. Definitely look it up. Apparently, anyway, no.
Did he jump on Elmo? I gotta see this.
He smacked the shit out of Elmo, and then he had to say I'm sorry. But like, then Hoda, our buddy Hoda, tried to rope him into like answering this, some SF question. He's like, that's not my job. I don't give it S-word, he said, because it's morning television. It's freaking morning television. He's trying to say, I don't give
Oh,
a
my
shit
God.
on morning television. Fucking Larry David. Go look that shit up.
Yeah.
But what I learned from him, number threes, is they're very good at the not my job. And by the way, like, let me just say, you know, I know I'm DE, but like, I'm just saying, no one is better than anyone. Like, all the social types, we need all of them to make the world go round. And what I would say about the number threes is, yeah, they have the not my job thing. And it's good when I hear you say that, Dave, because the Santa Claus bag knows no limit.
Right.
There's no limit to the Santa Claus bag. Take on everybody's shit
Right.
on the side
Right.
of the road. It's
Then you
weird
make
me
it
having
worse.
that
Yeah.
second, you know, like the
Yeah.
number one even has that second, and it's like, oh, I can help you. I'm a guru. I can help anybody. It's like, no, you can't fucking help everybody. Some
Right.
people, be very clear about who you can't help, and that's why we have
Right.
disclaimers on the website, stuff like that.
And then partner with people like
Yeah,
Jana, where it's like she can help in areas that I can't at this time. Like you don't have to
yeah,
do it all, but I think then partnering with other people that can help in other ways, putting it all together, get the spectrum, Yeah, the
exactly.
number twoism does feel like, and especially with consume last, it's a dangerous combo. I just feel like there's no fear on the front end, and that's definitely what I'm learning now later in life, of like all of these cliffs that I've jumped off of, and then now your body has to pay the bill later, and there's this if the consume last feels very EP like almost, where like I will cause chaos, I will jump into stuff, I will try stuff, and there's just no fear on the front end. I guess the EPs are like, well, they don't have fear, but it's just I guess they're just I don't know. It's just some kind of a blind spot on the front end that I end up paying for on the back end. So yeah, thank you. So trying to find the limitations of I guess that's what the emotional hard the thing that's emotionally hard to deal with is like everything in my body wants to jump in. I want to help. I want to do more. But then now, as I've gotten older, learned if I follow those default feelings, that then ends up burning everything down later. And so I have to set these weird
Yeah,
limitations and specialization and literally tell people that's not my job and all this kind of stuff. And then like, yeah, that's definitely,
gonna shout out some people in the comments here
yeah,
with like some really good relevant stuff. Damn right, I love when people create their own limits, not your job.
yeah,
And then also, that's not my job. It's totally necessary. I want to learn this more and more.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. It's therapy, honestly. This is like, you want a shortcut to therapy, like for number ones and twos,
Wait, let's
especially.
get this
Like,
comment in here from Dave. Dave of all
which
people
one?
down
Oh
the
yeah.
bottom. Yeah, let's highlight that one.
Which one? This
The
one?
bottom one, no, the bottom
The
one.
bottom
His
one.
latest
Okay.
comment. Yeah, that one. Let's highlight that one. Oh, thank
Because
you very
Dave,
much.
dude, that's what happens. You know, you work on yourself, you move up, you look better. That's
Thank you.
the secret.
Handsome of
But
all
no.
Daves.
Why are you more handsome? That's okay. Now let's
I
go
don't
into the
know.
why.
It's a great compliment getting from a handsome ISTP. I'm always competing and flirting with those guys. So that's a great compliment. I didn't want to let that one go by.
Oh my God, good. He's got a good. Um, yeah, it is. Oh man, putting points in the SF, like, I feel like I've heard LiJo talk a little bit about that, and just like, it's so good to watch NTJs like put some points in the SF. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Real
watch.
quick. I
Yeah,
think yes. Sorry to interrupt. LiJo, I think is a
go
great
ahead.
example. Talking with her, I've really been trying to figure it out because she's an example of like, okay, why the hell has this girl like really gone up in a lot of? There's a lot of like last time we talked, there was a lot of like depth to her, and a depth and a calmness and a maturity that it wasn't there a few years ago. And I really was puzzling what she was talking about on that last podcast. Is she's like, yeah, I forced myself to go down to the poker thing every day, or not every day, a couple days a week, and she's been doing this for a couple of years, and it's like this interesting equation that I think she stumbled into because it's like she's getting results, and so now I'm waking up, like I'll consume that. Well, how come there's noticeable results? What the hell did you do? What are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm going down and I'm playing poker with a bunch of old men live in person. I'm not doing the online thing. I'm doing it there to create the uncomfortableness in the SF. And she's like, Dave, what I love about it is that you get punished so fast instantaneously for messing up the sensory. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. And then also like dealing with the people and the emotions, and the unfairness. And she's doing it for a workout, but it's also in this interesting balance of it's still 80% IJ. It's still the same routine. It's the same thing. It's the same kind of. So she's found this interesting dynamic I'm puzzling around with, like kind of an 80-20 ratio of largely her saviors are kind of protecting her demons and allowing her demons to get in a flow state to grow. And then also the biggest thing is there's noticeable results from that kind of work, So I'm curious, always curious about those kind of equations, working backwards
Yeah,
from you know?
Yeah, and a shout out specifically for that podcast or interview that she did with you is very focused. You know, anytime I'm trying to work on my NI, she does it so well. It's like the way I'm seeing it is like we're kind of piloting our functions. Like the plane is, you know, your type, and then how are you piloting it?
Yeah.
And I love the way she pilots the function of masculine NI. Like her videos are generally like 7 minutes long. I struggle to get it down to that. Like, get to your fucking point, Habib. Like, that's
Yeah.
so much. I'm like screaming at myself. Like whenever I'm watching my videos back, I'm like, oh man. But it's like, I need to just put in more reps. I'll get there
And
eventually. But
editing,
like,
that's what I do.
yeah, but like anyway, the podcast she had with you is so good. Definitely check that out. And especially to balance out the SE you're gonna get from me here. And what's funny is that we're only on like point one of my list of topics,
Oh,
but like we don't have to get through it all. But like the point
yeah.
is, the next point is pretty good, which is all roads lead back to Tony Robbins, growing and giving, like
Yeah.
whatever the hell he had, but
Yeah.
that's like the real thing. And because this video is about growth, like how does giving work into the equation, and just like how do you kind of balance the two and all that? Like how do you see growing and giving as like, you know, from the Tony Robbins and
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one. I can't help but think about I've just been listening to a lot of different stuff out there, just talking more about like manhood, you know, again, so women play along, insert your own equations here. But just like the old school for thousands of years of like duty and honor, and like you really see it in war. Like you're watching the Ukraine war, it's like what's really like, are those guys carrying out fucking self-help books out in the field? Like what really lasts in really really hard times? Oh, my goals. Well, no more goals. This, like the guy next to me, like what is deep deep animalistic stuff that even in a time of war is going to get you through, you know? And so growing and giving, it might not even be as far down as you can possibly go. It might be just like these kind of this intrinsic value of we as humans are vehicles, you know. So if you're a man or a man archetype or whatever, there's or whoever you are in the tribe, there's a duty that you have to fulfill your role. And the same with female, and then the spectrum of everything in between. But it's like there's something outside objectively that is larger than us as these little earth vehicles, that you got to get up every day and you got to fight the war even if you don't feel like it. You got to help your buddy out even if you don't feel like it. You got to do your duty even if you don't feel like it. Like these kind of deeper motivations of deep discipline. It's like tied into our intrinsic value as people or whatever. And I was like very abstract. This is like what I'm trying to look at and puzzle out. This is like raw NI right now, you know. I think then growing and giving is going to be like the first thing that you're going to see from somebody who's healthily living on their mission, being their right person, getting up and being a parent today, even though they don't feel like it, going to their job, even though they don't feel like it, et cetera, et cetera. But the growing and giving is definitely where Tony Robbins picks up, is like he connects those two to progress. If you watch him, he'll say that he's like, yeah, the key to happiness is progress. Then you unpack progress, and there's growing and giving. And then if you unpack that, I think there's this deeper like intrinsic value of we are vehicles here to serve. Get up and do it whether you feel like it or not, you know. So the growing and giving is like the metric of making progress, and then the progress is the meaning, which all of this makes sense if you look at humans as we're vehicles. So it's like you go out and you know, Cody's got an old bike in the side yard here, and like I'm like, I swear to God, I threw that away, and it's like it's still there, and it's just like the tires are flat, and then like it's just like rotting and stuff. And it's just like there's no movement to the bike, so it's just eroding away, and it's like going out and yelling at a bicycle, like, hey, that's a vehicle. It's not a container. It's not a destination. Like our society, we've fallen into this weird trap where it's like there's a destination of I sit on my bed and I feel good and I avoid depression and anxiety and pain. It's like, wait, how the hell did this game start? This is brand new. This is weird. No, that's not what's been going on for thousands of years. That's not the thing. So people are like looking for this destination. Might not be a super accurate word, but something like that, like this destination town of no anxiety and no depression and no bad feelings, and destination of good feelings all the time. So where is that? And I don't have that. And it's like, holy shit, we've just gotten ourselves way off track playing a game that's just not real, you know? So the growing and the giving are the metrics that really somebody should be looking at. I feel like, I was just kind of talking this out. Crazy baby's coming by here. Hey, you.
Yay.
She's on her. What time is it? Oh, she's on 12 o'clock.
Squirrel time's coming up.
Come over here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Here.
Yay.
Got a treat for you that you haven't found yet. Here, you want
so
this?
We got special guest, Squirrel.
Come
so
here,
the question
buddy.
is, how do you spell Mazy?
Mazy.
That's pretty spelling.
Mazy baby.
That's the most NI you can get with that spelling, yeah. As in, there's like longer versions of it. I thought it might be inspired by Mazy Williams, the ISFP.
No, it's Mazy because she used to swim around in Shan's sweatshirt. She would just like crawl around like she's in a little maze. Mazy. Yeah, they have the NI spelling, Mazy. As simple as you can say. No middle initial either. No middle name. She's not info dom.
Let's see what the comments are saying. How do people feel about the squirrel? Everybody loves the squirrel. Oh man.
Come here, pal.
Brittany says, "I'm coming to visit you just so I can hold the squirrel, Dave."
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Give you some good scratches.
Yep. That's
good. She's working right now, so she's got a pretty good schedule. And so the squirrels around the neighborhood. So in the morning, it's cuddles, lots of cuddles, and then she goes to work. She hides all the little walnuts around the house. Then she'll find stuff to chew on, play with. She likes to make little forts on the couch and run around. And then around now, she's been kind of taking a nap around 1 o'clock, another hour or so.
So would you say the squirrel is kind of like a mentor to you?
A mentor?
I'm joking.
No.
I was just looking at my topic list and I'm like, oh, that'd be funny.
She's a project manager.
Yeah. No, like what I was talking to you about offline, but also like from what I see is like this, I can see more of your growth as a human when you're taking care of Mazy.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole other side of you. Like I see everyone in the community, or like a lot of people that I'm seeing, like they're really loving that you have this squirrel running around.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, let's say Dave is your friend. It's like you care about him, and there's so many blaster things to do. There's 1,000 things I imagine, Dave, you have to do.
Yeah.
But when you got this squirrel running around your shoulder and you're able to handle her like the NF hippie that makes sense
right.
to be, and it's just so therapeutic to watch. And
yeah,
because Dave is like working really hard, and you got this squirrel.
I know it's a really good contrast. We're really good buddies. Our energies work well together. Yeah, she's just definitely just a massive dose of love and fi. It's just like it's an unconditional love. This is buried in my armpit here. It's an unconditional love where you have a little pet that's like a dog that just thinks the world of you, thinks you're fucking great, follows you around, loves you, very cuddly. She's kind of active in the afternoons here, but like, yeah, it's a weird emotions. These emotions. And then she goes to bed early, and then I miss her. I'll just like put on a picture of her. You're gonna have to wait till she gets up.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think
yeah. Go ahead.
I just think from what I see of that species, she's gonna get more kind of house catty. And I don't think we'll be able to get rid of her. We're supposed to let her go in the spring, but it's just we can try. But she's gonna be like, that was fun, and just come right back to the house, which happens with some of these. So it might be stuck with her.
So what type is she? No,
she's a fox squirrel. What's it called?
No, I was saying OP type, but that would.
I don't know.
That would ruin it. I would say don't go there.
I don't know. I'm
glad that wasn't your first instinct.
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't your first.
I have thought about that. I think what if you were to take a run at that, I think I would need to see a lot of other squirrels to get the baseline of the tribe. Because I think a lot of when I'm typing people, I'm typing off of the double deciding of, okay, you're not this, you're not this. I remember we had a macaw, and it was very crazy and extroverted, and we ended up taking it to like a sanctuary in Washington State where it lives with hundreds of macaws. So I would go up and visit it for quite a few months and end up kind of working there for a while and stuff. And so it was like a massive gymnasium type outdoor, or it was caged in, but it's about 100 macaws. And it was so great because all of a sudden I could see our macaw so much more clearly in the spectrum of all the other macaws. You kind of get a personality baseline when you see the rest of the tribe. So I don't know what the hell an average squirrel is supposed to act like. So I don't know if she feels more calm than the crazy ones I see around the street. So maybe not sleep last. Maybe we can work backwards from that.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Not Tony Robbins.
No worries. You don't need a real answer for that. The less of an answer you have, the happier I am, because you're typing enough people, and I think there's something brilliant about like you know, I personally was not in a rush to like type my parents, for example. It's just like I like to just know the person necessarily. Like, there's
Yeah.
a whole SF side. It's kind of rejecting the NT. Like, there's certain people I do want to type in life and stuff, but like, there's a certain de-romanticization. Like, it's not romantic. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
That's
get you.
maybe
Yeah.
my consume self, but like, I think there's something positive about not
Yeah.
typing everybody and
Yeah.
all that, and just having a conversation. You know,
Yeah, there's still
like
friends,
yeah,
old friends of mine. I don't know their types. I haven't been able to figure it out. There'll
yeah,
still be people in my normal life, and I'm like, how the hell do I not have their type figured out? And like sometimes I just don't, just not yet, I just
yeah.
don't.
That's okay. It's totally
Yeah,
good. Because I mean that also like elevates the objectivity of like the actual thing. Is like it's a real process you're doing. It's not this like 1 second like, oh, I know I can
yeah,
see everything. You know, it's yeah.
yeah. You get these, and so much of it is the self, like with my mom and with my old boss. My old boss, I still not fully settled on his type, even though I hung out with the guy. I love the guy every single day, and it's like sometimes when somebody gets into my FI, then I get this weird blind spot. And Shani like saw him just for a little bit. She's like, "Duh, he's ISTP or whatever." I'm like, "That's TI. I thought he was FI." Like just all upside down, just all upside down. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny to watch. It's funny to I'll see this too with people that'll be in training with typing. They'll be like hit, 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 hit. So this one girl is working with this, and then just got herself spun upside down and like can't. I still gotta send her a message later today, and like can't she can't get out of it. Just got the person upside down, and it just can't go back and reobserve. But it'll just be like 1 out of 10. Your brain will just for some reason you and this person are just all tangled up. You can't see each other.
It happens definitely.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Actually, that kind of transitions to this other thing of like, and I'm gonna go use the restroom as I usually do in these interviews.
What about my
Um,
break?
you want a break too?
No. So I want to make you feel
Okay.
guilty when you go on yours.
No worries. But a question I have, we can talk about that. The craft slash skill of typing. So the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I know on one hand, like, it seems like you could type people, like, oh, you learn about OP, and then you can like type people, celebrities and all that. But what happens is with the number of reps you've done, it's like really hard to ignore that in order to get good at typing, just as you're sharing the story about the person you're training, right?
Yeah.
It, it's really a skill that takes time and time. And when you take that much time to develop a skill, it becomes a craft. So it
Yeah.
goes from like number 2 land to number 3 land,
Yeah, totally.
basically.
Yes, right. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah, so like what are the benefits of getting good at typing in terms of like growth? Like why are the two connected? Because I could
Like
feel it
why
for
have X-ray
myself.
vision? It's like because you
Yeah.
could see so much in life.
Oh,
Like that like frying pan coming at your head. I don't know, you can fucking duck and get out of the way. God, it saved my ass everywhere. Just like can you imagine like living in a rental am I going? Can you imagine like living in a rental house and having fucking psychos manage your thing and not knowing what their triggers are, what their fears are, what their demons are, and you're just like walking into every fucking trap. So like especially when there's people that have power over me, I gotta quickly, like my life depends on it, figure out what is their pain, what is their fear, and then go to work, not stepping on that, and then giving them flowers and positive things in their other area, and it just makes me feel very extremely not stuck with people. And you say, like for example, like the squirrel we have, we're not supposed to have fucking pets in this fucking house. It's a nice house, and it's we're renting the house, and like I'm gonna eventually gonna have to pay that fucking bill somehow. They're gonna come over for an inspection or whatever. Like I'm gonna get caught. They'd be like, all right, we found out you have a squirrel. I'm like, how did you know? They're like, well, I don't know. We drove by the house and we saw a little fucking squirrel looking out the fucking window. Like, oh, okay. And so it's just like knowing that whoever I'm up against, whether it's the management company or the owner of the house or whatever, everybody has positives and negatives. And I'm like, okay, so what is this person afraid of? And it's like, if it's a management company, they're going to be afraid of the homeowner. It's like, okay, I'll just talk to the homeowner, which I've already established a relationship with them. So it just gives me a lot of freedom of like, I'm not going to get, when I get in trouble, I'm not stuck. It's not dead. I'll just be able to have conversations with people and continue to have conversations with people until I can figure out where it is that their positive thing is. Anyway, so it's very, very useful. So the skill of typing, I'd love to go over this again, like the skill. Can I go over the skill of typing? How
yeah.
I'm doing my typing? It's
Yeah,
very
Yeah, go
Yeah.
over the skill of typing. It's always good to get, the latest and greatest on how that's going.
It's still the same thing. So I don't know what else everybody wants to hear. This is just what I'm doing, and I don't feel like it just works for me. I do feel like, well, obviously, if you have more coins in common with me, probably the better. But I still feel like it's still generally going to be this very true for everybody. Same with like chess. It's like you'll see an ENTP battle an INTJ. It's like still going to be very similar tactics and stuff. But I think the biggest thing that I'm doing with typing that is really helping so much is I'm just taking to the face that I've got to get to know the person. So the more the videos and the better the videos, the better. Let me just talk about that. Like, anybody doing like interview style questions? Okay, I'll say it out loud. I'll say it again. I'll be the bad guy. My masculine TI and my masculine FI and any other masculine function I can muster up, you are doing it so fucking wrong. Do not ask people questions in an interview process. It's like watching the Congress interview Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, when did you stop poisoning the lives of children? Like, you are punching people in the stomach when you're asking point blank yes or no weirdo questions. You are making the person talk. Like, I'm learning more about the interview person than I am the person being interviewed, because the interview person is never getting out of pummeled state. So you go to somebody's house or dinner. Would you like tea and crumpets? Yes, I'll have tea and crumpets. Would you like to sit in the chair? Yes, I'll sit in the chair. Would you like to have your shoes up? Okay, have my. And so you're never getting out of liar talk. You're never getting out of surface talk. You're never getting out of default talk, which is where, I don't know, I guess most people live there so much that they just think that's normal. That's not fucking normal. And so you need to get somebody in a drunk fuck off state, hand them a bunch of beers, say something fucking sexist or offensive or about the government, and step back and laugh and let them fucking unload and just see what's down there and let them go. And don't judge them and don't ask follow-up questions, because your questions are going to derail. They'll be like, yeah, totally. I like control, whatever. Anyways, back to, and you're like, okay, so I said he likes control. It's like, missed it. So you cannot have direct questions, yes or no questions. They're just going to be telling you what is socially appropriate. Like, human beings, we are designed as chameleons. Like, duh. Like, this is a stealth battle. This is a war. This is chess. You're fighting fighter planes. You're fighting chess. You're fighting martial arts. Their job is to camouflage. Their job is to hide. Their job is to socially go, you want to hear this, or this would be popular. Like, that's their job. So you have to respect the stealthy defenses that the enemy or your opponent has. And so you have to take their defenses down and you get them drunk. I don't mean that quite literally, but that helps. You get them to where they're just sitting there ranting into a fucking camera. That's why you don't want anybody else in the room. Duh. No, you can't have their fucking wife in the room. What the fuck? Because then they're like, the best time in my life was like, what are you doing? Like, can you not? I don't know. Yeah, it's like an NF brand.
For
like,
sure. Yeah.
So it's like, you gotta let the client get in a really good state, and then you have to be honest with, all right, am I watching a good video here? And for the most part, the videos that we've been getting this past year are fucking outstanding. The people they're doing an hour, and they understand the game, and they just go into a drunk fuck off state, and they're just talking free and normal. And I'm gonna definitely, as we improve the video typing page, be like, hey, can you give me the other videos? Because people stop doing that for some reason. So I was like, give me your 1 hour video. And yes, it's gonna be over an hour. Like, fuck, just don't give me 20 minutes. Like, would you? Yeah. But then, like, also sleep last. If you give me 19 hours or whatever the record we've had, it's like I can't watch all of that. So, but anyways, the point is, like, 1 to 2 hours of really good footage, especially if it's on separate days. And so you just have to just sit back and fire up Ravenfield and just fly a plane and hit play and play it as fast as you can with still comprehending the information, and then just play the video, and then just go make a burrito with your headphones on or whatever. Like, don't stare at their face. They said this, they did this. You leave it alone. And by the end of the video, if you're calmly relaxing, just hanging out like you would with a friend in a coffee shop, like 2 hours later, this person you just met, how did you randomly pick up all these vibes from these people, this person? And pretty quick, it'll start to hit you. You'll start to get some undercover intuition will start to hit you. Like, you'll start to all of a sudden realize, okay, I think I'm starting to see the walls of Jericho. This person's story. Who are they in the archetypes or whatever? So that would be that first stage you're looking for, is you're waiting for that hour build up until all of a sudden you can start to see this person as if they're a real person. You're not
So
just typing
something,
them.
yeah. So on one hand, I want to shout out. I feel like you like the way he does interviews. A guy named Jose Guy Linares. Maybe you've
Yeah.
seen his and Ian's videos. Like
Right.
they've been doing interviews and stuff with people. And I
Hmm.
think maybe part of the reason why it may have dipped or something. Like I'm not sure if you've stopped getting their videos for a while or something, because there's a typing group that we have that kind of intercepts people who are getting typed by Dave and Shan,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they get you know they get interviews with Guy and with Jose and Ian,
Right.
and then we get to type them. We get extra typing practice basically,
Yeah.
and then they get a great interview to submit with.
Yes.
But
And I'll
yeah,
do go through those. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
those are great. That's a great way of doing it because there's a friend's energy. If I could
Right. That
give the NI of it, of like,
it's not a doctor appointment, Tell me about your ugliest toe. I'm in so much trouble right now. Like, oh my god, so fucking cringy. Poor person. I just jump out. Yeah, the Ian ones or the Guy ones are really good. Or in a lot of interviews I'll see online are good. Like, and those two, I'll usually start. I have been doing this. I have been starting, and this is just what I'm doing right now. This is not like real or whatever, but randomly, I'm also very aware of like my bias machine wants to clamp down as fast as I can. I got so many other things to do, like blah 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 blah, and I'm consumed last. So I have it worse than most people. Of like, I just want to like this type done. So I'm aware of like my own physical wear down of like it's going to be. I'm going to start to want to rush this. So I need to not. Okay, you'll see people like picking out a video. Like, okay, let's pick out a video. And they'll just like play like a Jimmy Fallon interview and like just sit there and watch the commercial, watch the introduction, watch all the liar shit, have it on. You're like, your 9-second window, hard jump. Like your brain is closing so fucking fast. It's like, do. Like, no. You want to you gotta. So what I've been doing is like, I'll start at like the halfway mark of their video because now they're already in the flow. I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, but I'm getting the energy of their baseline. And I let it play all the way to the end. And I start at the beginning. Then I usually just end up watching it all the way through. So it's usually like 1.5 times or whatever. And then that's kind of fun too, as well. Like you watch halfway through the video, and then you're like, okay, so how the hell did we get there? Like, how did they start? So that's what I've been doing recently. But then it's like once you get them figured out, then the next phase is now you got to be a good technician. You got to be a good question asker. You got to be a good cross checker. So you do your Punnett square, you do your T-square, and you're like, all right, if you think this, let's think about the girl, the one that what's her name fucked up on here. It's like the person she's typing. I haven't even typed this person yet, but I think this person is TE. I don't know what type, but I think it's TE. Blah blah blah. And then the other one's like typed her like lead consume, save her consumer, whatever. It's like, okay, that's a huge coin to have off. Like that's you don't want to have a coin off where the person is lead play and you got them as lead consumes. Too many things that are off here because like there's so many cross checks of like, okay, did you check? Are you sure that's DE versus DI? Are you sure that's demon feeling versus savior feeling? Are you sure that's TE versus TI? Are you sure that's a consume story versus a place? Like, there's so many different questions and cross checks that you can give yourself that I see when I screw up and when this person screws up or when Shan screws up. It's like you go back and you check the notes. Where's the cross checks? That's what gets you. There's no cross checks. There's no looking at, all right, how many different which ways can I catch myself? Are you actually seeing demon FE versus demon FI or whatever? Are you sure? Have you gone through? Have you seen that? Can you note that several times? And this is where you're always going to end up getting sloppy, getting caught. This is the same thing I'm doing when I'm messing up a coin or whatever.
And just trying to translate it, I'm doing my best, which isn't that great, to be self-honest, of tying it to growth. Like, the thing about the typing skill that from what I'm seeing in myself and you and everyone who's in the, trying to get better at typing.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm seeing people grow in is they're getting over their biases. If you're improving,
right,
you're able to get over your overconfidence,
right,
your ego, your a
Yes.
baggage that you're bringing to the typing process. And I am
Right.
guilty. Like I've talked to people, I've typed people where, I'm asking them real questions and they're like, "Oh, I really have to answer this. Yeah, I want to fucking be somebody. I'm a number
Yeah.
3. I want to
Right.
be somebody. I want to be CEO or, why not? If everybody else
Yeah.
is doing it, why not? Why not me?"
Right.
And I'm like, you know, it's just like, but what I'm having to go through as I'm like doing the typing, it's I'm getting a lot more empathy for others, but also like I'm able to get over my own self,
Yeah.
get over
Right.
myself basically, like
Yeah.
not bring the baggage, like actually look at, hey, what is this person going through? How
Right.
do I get this person in a comfortable state? Like how do I listen? Like even if you're not talking, if you're just watching a video and you're listening, like how
Right.
do I not bring my baggage to the listening session, like
Right.
to really listen. Like there was a comedian who said like it's really generous what the audience is doing. They're
Yeah.
all
Right.
listening
Yeah.
to my
Yeah. Huh.
joke. They're listening
Right.
to my
They're
joke.
working.
They're
Yeah.
doing me a favor.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a big thing, like if you're and how this translates in real life, if you never type anyone ever again, like if you're watching this video and you have no interest in getting into the typing process, like observe your conversations. Like how much baggage are you bringing into
Yeah.
your actual conversations with real people? You go to a grocery store, like how much of your own bias are you
Yeah.
bringing into everything you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Right. That's so good. Yeah. A feeling that I connected to with the typing process. What I've really come to enjoy about it is like I love the pain of it because I connect it to the growth. Like like working out or whatever. And so you watch those things online where they'll do like a magic show where a guy will like, put something into a bottle and then scrunch the bottle down or pull a rabbit out of his hat or do some kind of a magic trick. But then it's like actually the channels that'll then show you how that's done. I love that feeling of watching something with my eyes. And I'm like, oh, there's no way. Here's my interpretation. I'm seeing it and feeling that feeling of fully convinced, and then have that switch to where it's like, oh, actually, it's working. Nothing like you thought it was, and you were completely wrong. Your perceptions are wrong. Your decisions are wrong. And going through that painful feeling of like, oh, I was completely way wrong. And it does feel like a Darren Brown magic trick. Like Darren Brown really very much strongly influenced me in my earlier years. And so I think about him and I think about that feeling of getting Darren Brown when I'm typing with somebody or I'm typing somebody and I'll get a coin off. I love it when I will like not even catch it because I'll bring results to Shan and like she'll like get down her notes, and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just do like, say there's 10 coins, we'll do like maybe 6 coins each and there's a lot of overlap, and then we'll talk out whichever ones we're missing or whatever. And I love it when like I'll get caught and I had to like know, because most of the time I'm like, I'm not sure about audio versus double feminine. I'm not sure about this or that. And she's like, okay, let me take a look. But I love it when every once in a while it's just like I'm off and like had no idea it was coming. It just to be able to sit in that feeling of like, this is what I see our friend going through right now. She has no idea what's coming. But it's going to be a Darren Brown, like bloop, and like all of a sudden she's gonna be like, oh my god, that makes sense. Why the person was saying this and saying that, like all this flood comes back, and so I like that feeling because I like to be able to catch myself to where I was fully convinced the aliens this, and it actually turns out that I was fully convinced my neighbor this, but it actually turns out that. The one time I accused my neighbor of breaking into my car, and I was totally wrong. It was actually the paper boy. Like how embarrassing that I went to their house, banged on their door, and said somebody at your house is breaking into our car, and then they were so upset and so hurt and so offended, and they should be because I was accusing them wrongly. It was the paper boy. Like how embarrassing is that? And so it's like I love catching this and typing because it's like, oh, I'm draining the swamp, I'm draining the cup of I'm so convinced and I'm so wrong a little bit in the typing process of going through
yeah,
that humility of like, hey, jackass, your worldview, your perception is actually completely wrong. And you're objectively, that's why it's objective. You're objectively caught and you're held accountable and you have to grow and update. And then just getting used to that. Because then when you get into real life, it's like, oh, yeah, how we were doing things with Cody was like completely wrong. And there's that feeling of like, oh, yeah, everything you're doing was completely wrong. You were totally convinced. You're a total jackass. You were making it way worse. Bloop. And then to be able to not, like I was saying earlier, not stay too long in that ditch of, oh, I suck or whatever. Just like, oh, I got tricked. I got tricked again.
yeah,
Let me,
that's a very important point actually,
yeah,
not staying in that, because I think a lot of people, well, I've seen a few people just comment, oh, I don't want to do that self-hating thing that Dave and Shan do. like and I think it's people who misunderstand. They might watch or feel like it's consistently self-hating or something. It's like it's more like just holding yourself accountable. Like
Yeah,
to some people, accountability just sounds bad, feels bad.
right.
You know, it just feels harder to do. Like because you don't want to be in that space. Like I I know that in a lot of situations I'm the asshole, but at the same time, like I need to every morning I get up, I need to come back around, put an arm around my own shoulder, and be like, Habib, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
You
right.
messed up yesterday. You're gonna mess up today,
Yeah.
but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna
Yeah, very
keep
much.
going
Yeah,
forward.
and
Yeah.
setting the standard of what is like what is how do you know if you suck or not? Like for me, what I randomly locked onto in the early years, masculine SF, and I will not motherfucking let go of it, is when I was listening to Real Science, where they were like, they did some study on like Myers-Briggs. They were running a computer program through taking Myers-Briggs through Reddit and different stuff, and they got like a correlation of like 14%. And I'm like, 14%? Like, yeah, it's better than zero. I'm like, okay, so you guys are jumping up and down like fucking 14%, like 14%. That was the number I remember. Yeah, it's better than zero. I'm like, okay, whatever. See, it's not just chance. There's something there. Like 14%, 14%. So I'm like, all right. So if and I remember Peterson talking about if there was ever a personality system that got anywhere close to 60, the world would turn upside down. Like it'd be undoable if you could get 60% the same. So I'm like, I gotta just hold on to 60. So when I'm typing with the clients, like people are like, you got me wrong. I'm like, yeah, but I got almost everybody else right this month. Like, what? I got 90%? Like I'm getting above 60. I'm doing good if I'm getting above 60. So I don't hold myself to an unrealistic standard emotionally because I want to be able to, I'm just doing that as a self-defense mechanism to not let the impact or the embarrassment or the hurt. But I see a lot of people will get into that. And I'll see Shan struggle with that where she's like, oh my gosh, I got this one wrong. I'm like, Shan, okay, you're like the best, if not the second best typer in the world. You're typing hundreds of people a year. You're doing fucking amazing. You're teaching a class. Like, you should not exist. Jordan Peterson would not even believe what you're doing is real. You're doing fucking great. Like, don't worry if you got like one off. So setting that, trying to get very clear in that kind of standard in life to give yourself the flexibility and the movability. Because if not, real quickly, the default judgments of I have to get them all right, and which is what everybody else is falling for because they're all falling. They're not checking it, so they're feeling like they have to get it all right. And I'll see clients get their type. Like, what the hell's with this, man? I'll see clients get their type completely right on, except for like one coin, and they're like all upset. I'm like, hey, no, dude, you really like, please don't be doing that everywhere else in your life. That you're doing the impossibility to 95%, and you're just so down and out that you didn't get it perfect. Like, do not do that. You know it. You know it.
Yeah. Yeah, just to say like people can start uh adding your questions.
Oh yeah.
I'm just soliciting for that. I'm just going to ask a couple more and then we'll jump to it. So, yeah, I'm just saying add your questions. Because what I'm realizing, I have a list of a lot of topics and each one of those is like gargantuan. Like I remember when I did the podcast with Shan and she's like, Habib, there's a lot here. Like there's a lot here. Each one of these could be its own video.
Let's just do another one a couple months from now.
Yeah, that would be great because
Planning, bro.
okay, so like I got two questions for you before we jump to the audience. One is on trauma, and the other one is on the same question I asked Shan during the live show, which is theory versus practice, right?
Yeah.
So the theory side, what I'm seeing is like let's say the archetypical NTJ is looking into the theories, the NI, right? The theory, the NT, the cool stuff, the big think stuff, right? You watch a big think video with Michio Kaku and it's all this cool shit, right? But then you got the practice. You got the people like Jocko Willink, you got people like David Goggins, you got people, whoever you actually admire.
Yeah.
Who do you actually admire? It might be someone, definitely not those people, in your case, take your pick.
Yeah.
Right? The person who's doing the practice, maybe it's your doctor, maybe it's your therapist. They're actually in the practice, consistently showing up. Now, how do you kind of balance the two? Because OP feels like the theory side, but I mean, it's not that you're not using it. You're definitely practicing. You're definitely getting your reps. you're doing your 3 wheelbarrows, you're doing a lot of things with respect to the practice. So I'm not saying you're not doing that, but like, how do you kind of balance the two when there's like the theory side and then like, hey, let me practically bring it into my life?
I think it's
Yeah.
99% practice, and it's great to know how your gun works. It's great to know how to clean your shoes. It's great to know how to eat your food. But like when you're in the war of life, it's just like you need to be here. You need to be present. You need to be engaging. There's so much shit going on, and like the code helps you see just how much stuff is going on, and it makes sense now why. I remember like saying this in the early years of like, yeah, I choose entrepreneurship as the number two land, of course. It was like I choose the business world as my arena, as my reps, because I would see with people that this was just like a random pattern that I caught early on of like people that were on the TED Talks and happy, healthy, successful. They came from backgrounds like entrepreneurship, where you get your ass kicked all day, military, where you get your ass kicked, sports, or just something to where there's this hyper competitive field where the evolutionary pressure was on them, or a lot of times too, people that are actually winning at family life, where they're taking their family life. Like my previous bosses down in Pasadena were that way, where like they like for real did a family, like they didn't just, it wasn't a part of a deal. So there's something to where you have an external environment where you are just losing. I remember Wes Watson, listening to him, where he would say that himself and a lot of other guys, when they go to prison, like the first 4 years, like remember that, like the first 4 years, there's so much pressure and they couldn't deal with it and they're freaking out, they're having a hard time. But after about the 4 year mark, they finally were able to kind of, acclimate to it and get going from there. So I feel like it's as silly as you're staring at a bicycle but never going for a ride. I would see this in the RC world. Like guys would talk about and debate planes, and they would even build planes. But here's the weirdest thing: they would never fly them. They would never fly them. They would never fly the planes. They wouldn't. They're RC planes. They wouldn't fly the planes. They would talk about it. They'd argue over glue. They do paint jobs. They build them, rebuild them, and never fly them. And I like, what? And we were the other way. It's like, no, we mostly fly, and then we'll do a little bit of design, slap a shitty paint job on it, try and trick everybody in Photoshop, and away we go. And so it's all of the magic is in, like for example with our buddy Michael here. He was working in ops for the past year. So when he first kind of moved out here a few years ago, he's a young guy. I'm like, hey man, you should get onto eBay. That's gonna be your practice. So you're gonna learn all your best stuff. He's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. So he's just bounced around, tried a bunch of stuff. He's worked alongside me and Shan, but just had a really hard time keeping up with two 40-year-olds with 20 years of business experience. And literally right now he's like making $5,000 a month on eBay. Like he's now doing eBay. So it's like, it's funny that he's found the workout that is giving him the mind muscle attention, the growth. So you can't do no growth. You can't just sit back in fucking Iowa and hang out with your fucking parents, because then there's no growth. Then you can't just jump into like a prison with Dave and Shan, try and run with a bunch of 40-year-olds that have like built their way up, because then you can't keep up with all their crazy systems. But he has found the area of doing the eBay. It's funny, just last night I'm talking, because he's got our whole garage taken over. So he rents out, actually pays us rent now. So he like rents out the garage. We got a big garage. So I was down there bullshitting with him last night, and he's just like, he's now hiring a kid to collect some of the stuff at eBay or at the Goodwill or whatever. And he was like upset. He's like, Dave, I can't stop hearing your voice in my head, like talking to this kid. And I'm just like, now I'm the old guy, like laughing. So I see, I fucking told you so. Yeah. But anyways, the point is like,
that's great.
Seeing him settle into an intense environment of the workouts. Because otherwise, I've just watched it time and time again. You just give these stories and these answers and these lessons to kids about how to fly a plane and how to ride a bike, and they're just like, yeah, cool. And they never ride the bike, and they never fly the plane, and they never do the eBay business or have the family or do the thing. And so all that information just, that makes them go crazy over time. But the second they get into the right workout, like that's when all the magic happens, because now you're just watching it. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That kind of deal. So all in on the growth part.
Yeah, that's freaking brilliant. Always love hearing about Michael and talking to him too. He's a really good guy, and it's nice to hear that his eBay thing is going well.
Yeah, it's all too well.
And my last question before we jump to questions is accounting for trauma. Now, when we talk about growth and we talk about OP, I already kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but how do you feel, like, if I could directly ask, like, how do you feel that trauma is affecting a person's growth trajectory.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think it's one of the, I think it is I think that trauma is where you're getting started. So when I'm trying to get to know people, I'm trying to get through a checklist of 4. So I'm trying to know, are you an observer decider? I got to know which side is up. I got to know what's your last animal. What are you going to be hitting me with? I got to know what your social type is, where you're trying to get going. And then after I get those out of the way, I'm like, great, let me get started now. What's the trauma? What's the life story? And the trauma, I've really, as I've been studying that this past year, it's a really good thing. Again, follow the context here. It's a really good thing in the sense that everybody has it, and you can binary this so fucking fast. You'll have like the external trauma, where somebody will go through like the extreme physical abuse or abuse when they're a kid, where it's like all of society can see like, wow, you really, really were in a bad, unfair situation. So that can that can be very, very intense. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. Then you'll have other types of trauma. I think a lot of people in the personality community went through, where growing up, you're getting triggered in your demons, but nobody else can see it. And so you have like this undercover trauma that you're not allowed to have, but it's still trauma. It's still trauma. It's like Julian Blanc, so I keep following his stuff. And so people will have like, and sometimes that can be really hard because you have a much smaller trauma than like, you know, abuse from a horrible parenting or whatever. But it's like but it's a trauma that you can't, nobody believes you, nobody sees it, nobody can talk about. And so I've really settled on that. And even if you have no trauma, by the time you're 25, that's now trauma, because now your brain hasn't grown. It's weak. So it's like, and that's why Julian is so good. He's like, all right, let's just get started. We all have trauma. Let's just get on with it. Right. And so you see this ISTP guy starting with that. And then understanding what trauma is. And then also too, like seeing people like working in hypnosis, or actually, and I don't fully understand hypnosis yet, so I haven't gotten that far. But like the point is like getting back to, where was the bone broken when you were a little kid, and then it just kept growing in that direction and you totally forgot about it. And that's kind of what a trauma is like these deep. And I'll see it in the people around me, Shan, Cody, Michael, whatever. I'll see them get hurt by something, and then I'll watch their brain kind of make an adjustment, and then forever they'll be a little weird or a little scared about a similar situation. I'm like, oh, I saw that. And it's just like some small one or whatever. But what are you going to do? You're going to tell them like, hey, you're getting weird here because, 18 months ago, this thing really scared you. And that's why. They're like, shut up. Right. But you can see it happening in others. And you scale that out. You're like, oh, fuck. No wonder. And then it's like, anyways, trauma is where like, that's what you should be getting. Like, that's what you should get into, is you should be going, all right, I have something to where I have gone off in my earlier years. Your coins are setting up a weak spot, and then somebody hits you in that weak spot. Okay, great. So now you broke a thing. Now you're growing the wrong way. And without getting back down to those deeper stories, doing the trauma processing, the trauma healing, and, very carefully re-breaking, it's going to fucking hurt, and readjusting. That's why hypnosis seems to have a very direct, like, hey, let's just get right down to that and just make the adjustments and then come back up this way, But without getting back to those old stories, just to give you a sensory example, it's like a good thing we can all relate to is tell. So your blast last, like, tell off the record. Tell yourself what is a blaster. You're like, oh, a douchebag, always running on empty, fucking don't know what they're talking about. See? So it'd be like some negative story.
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, great. You have some negative story. And then you're like, yeah, but this actually happened. And my dad. And then like, oh, and then you have a bunch of reinforcement. And so you have some muscle to where reality is like, hey, do this. And you're like, no, I'm going to go the other way. So like for myself, that's why I'm saying like trauma can be these extreme things that are very obvious, and they can be these subtle things that are kind of these ghost problems. But you're getting down, and a great place to check is your functions, your observer, your sleep last, or whatever. And so your last animal is the big one. So it's like I'm seeing for myself, like when I really get in the profiles, has really brought a lot of trauma healing of myself, not in a dramatic way, but I literally will be writing. This is happening all the fucking time, and it's rather annoying. Is I'll be writing these things out, and I'll be like, oh, fuck. And then like the next couple of days, I'm just stumbling around doing my own kind of trauma healing of like, okay, so that's what consume last is. That's okay. So I'm so excited about jumping in that I just jumped in and I got all this stuff started. And that's why I now have to backfill like years worth of work. And like, why did I do that? Oh, because the people that go slow, they're dumb. And if you go fast, like, okay, so now look what you did to yourself. And like, oh my God, I had the negativity tied to the wrong thing. And so like pulling that apart, then trying to like heal it in such a way to where I'm creating a story that consume is good rather than consume is bad. Because like I traumatized myself that consume is better, whatever the example is. but getting down to that, because without that, you jump out of the latest problem, and guess what happens the next 10 years? You go do the same blast last bullshit, the same consume last bullshit, because you now have a new equation, and you have your fucked off story, and this is bad and this is scary because of your imbalances and all that. So yeah, man, getting down to those conscious, where do you have the bad stories? Where is the fear? Where is the hurt? Where is the trauma? You are going to find, coincidentally, it's going to be in your last animal, your last function, etc., because you have an immunity to everything else. But getting those stories. So yeah, lots to explore there.
For you, it's a Skippy EP, and for me, it's a douchebag, the IJs, right? And I'm like, right. Oh yeah, by the way, like I remember when I heard you say that, I'm like, wait, then Dave, why'd you call it douchebag? That's a term.
Right.
But now I say it, and you can feel the negativity I have behind it. It's just like,
right.
Because I was sold something at a young age and
right.
pinned negativity to it.
Right.
Like, I was locked in a room one time, and I was sold a scam, and I bought it, and I'm such a fool for that or something. And then but you got to yeah, that's why it's like one of the things that we're not getting into is like the grief cycle, the stages of grief. There's material on the website, you can check that out on the stages of grief and stuff, and how
that might be something I would be more, if we did that one in a future one, or if we just focused on that, like, because I feel like that's where all this is leading, and I feel like being able to talk that kind of stuff out would be really great to get into.
For sure. And to start, removing the selfishness of me and giving to the people, and now we're gonna start the Q&As.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So we got Sheila's question for the end. She did in the beginning. How does one process when struggling with masculine NI demon and processing my own death? At 50, I seem to be obsessing about it, and I want to release it. Any tips?
Oh, late to the game. That was me when I was hitting 30, stressing the hell about death. There's a guy, Sheila, that's coming up for a class that I think you can't see my screen, can you?
No, you could do the present button if you'd like.
No, so he's Arthur Brooks. Brooks,
dude, I was gonna bring him up. He has a book called The Second Mountain. Is that what you're?
I don't know. I obviously didn't read his book. I just watched his videos. Okay. But he was talking specifically a lot about exactly that. He's actually getting into the fear of death and stuff like that. And ironically, with a big, silly, happy face, he's talking about leaning more into it and processing it and becoming one with it. I guess I could tell you, Sheila, is like, having gone through that, and same with many others, it's like, it's something you can win at. It's something that, yes, you can actually continue to swim underneath that mountain of all of that pain and fear and scariness and death, and come out the other side where you still have that, but you have a oneness with it. So I would recommend Arthur Brooks, as well as keep going. Like, actually do get a good resolve. It can be done. Don't have any tips for it. It's like, how do I beat the dragon?
That's a big one. That's a giant one. That's deserves a lot more.
But just knowing that it can be done. And I guess too, Arthur Brooks, like, he's going to have an even harder time than me or Sheila. Sheila's got FI and NI. It's just hard. It's just hard. It's just painful, but doable. But also, this last thing, it's only the hardest thing in the world, overcoming your own fear of death. So, like, laughingly respect if you're like putting a ton of work into it. You're still getting your ass kicked. Like, it's only the hardest thing ever. But it is actually achievable. Yeah. That's a good one.
Cool. The next one. I heard Dave say in trouble earlier. I do this too. Is it a number 2 fear of authority thing? Freedom, baby.
Yeah, trouble. Like, you're gonna get in trouble. Yeah, Shanny has that. A little familiar. Do we know your type or who you are in real life?
I think it's Claire, who is my twin type, except number 2, probably.
Okay. Yeah. So I wonder if it's a DE trouble. I was actually randomly processing that. Because I will jokingly say to Mazy, like, when it's just me and her in the house, I'm like, you're gonna get in trouble. And I'm audio mimicking what I would hear Shan say when she would repeat stories when she was a kid from her dad. And so I just thought it was funny, like, trouble, I'm gonna get in trouble. And so I was actually processing, like, why does Shan feel like she's gonna get in trouble? I'm like, I guess, like, as DE, or I don't know if it's a social type thing
as well, by the way.
Is it?
I'm seeing a little bit of that, where there's like a outside authority that might like ban you from the friend group or something. I don't know.
Do you feel that? Do you feel like you're gonna get in trouble?
No, I think the number oneness takes it all away.
Yeah. So I wonder if it gets a yeah. Anyways, like that's normal. That's another thing too. It's like that's gonna pop up in like if we had a spectrum of all the types, you're gonna find people in every single type. They're gonna feel like I'm in trouble if I get in trouble. Like who knows how you got? It's probably some clustering going on there, but I think it's definitely something to consciously process and stuff. I remember being in the arena of the social media and stuff early on. I had to go through. I had to overcome those years. Like in the early on years of the RC stuff, I'm talking like 2004, 2005, 2006. That's when I went through my earliest wars. That's when I really got into trouble, caused a lot of hell, got kicked off of forums. Like you think I'm a crazy ass now? Like man, I was just a rampage idiot, and just a lot of fear. And I would get in trouble, and then I would be afraid of getting in trouble, and I had to really kind of process through that to where I'm like, all right, I need to get in trouble with myself. I need to be responsible for myself, have
There
my
you
own
go.
standards.
There you go.
And so when I get in trouble, for having a squirrel in the house, I'm like, I know I'm more in trouble with my fucking self. So what are you gonna do? You gonna fucking add $500 on? Like you want a security deposit? Like there's nothing you can do to me to get me more. Like I can deal with that. There'll be a couple of days. It'll be embarrassing, but then I got to deal with this guy. Like, hey, you're in trouble with you. Why did you let that happen? Why didn't you get on that earlier? Or maybe you should move. Why are you so afraid of moving? Yeah, like Shani wanted to move houses this spring. Our lease is up. I'm like, I ain't doing it. I don't want to move the fucking boxes. And like, we're kind of ready to move, but I'm like, no, I don't. My back hurts. I don't want. It doesn't hurt, but I don't want to hurt my back. I'm like, I don't want to move. So it's like there's areas that I could be putting that trouble on myself. You know what I mean? It's kind of my stupid Dave story.
Oh, Tiana says she's terrified of getting in trouble, even though she's number 3, and she's like BI as well.
Yeah, process that. Fuck them. I don't mean that in a bad way, but like don't let somebody else get you in trouble. Like trouble for what? Like really do NIFI that through. Worst case scenario. What are they gonna do? And like
Yeah.
and really look how much no one's gonna fucking cancel you or whatever. Like you just say you're sorry, say you're growing. Like the amount that that people want to see you be a jackass, and they every single time I've had a stronger bond with the people in my life, it's when there's a fuck up and then they watch how we resolve it and they're like, wow, I like you even more. That everybody is on your side. Everybody's rooting for it. It's when you're a jackass and you double down and then go away and say nothing. And they're like, oh, okay, well, then glad we killed you off. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the point is like, or I remember a big one for me was watching Logan Paul several years ago when he had that suicide thing, and he got in a lot of trouble for that. I'm like, oh man, this guy's fucked. This is a bad one. And I just consciously watched, like, okay, if anything like that ever happened to me, how would you ever get out of this? And I watched him be able to make that, make that a positive in the end. So it's something. I just think that people don't prioritize or believe that they can actually solve those equations. It just feels very abstract. Yes, you can solve the feelings of worried about death. You just got to put 6 months of hell into it. Yes, you can solve the feelings of feeling like you're in trouble. Just bring that very conscious and then keep working at it, to keep that as general blastery as I possibly can.
I think Ruslan has a question about the extroverted type being depressed and then versus the sleep consumed being self-isolating.
People jump into their savers when they're in trouble. Why does the play blast get depressed and not want to leave their room while the sleep consumed self-isolates? I don't know what. I think I'd have to have an example for that.
I think he has an example right here. Someone with CSP, because he's consumed sleep, play blast number 1. ICP.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. If sleep is about processing and resolving, why does someone with a consumed sleep savior is able to learn more from others than a social crack addict like?
Yeah, I think I generally know. I think from talking to Ruslan, I think he's going through has brought up something that I see in real life, and that is and I was telling him a little bit. Like I see this with Shan's parents, where Shan's mom is the same type as Sheila, or similar type. Shan's mom is FISE, and then Shan's dad is ENTJ, and it's a weird dynamic where they're switched. Like the big, powerful ENTJ just sits on the couch and doesn't take on the world, and the more introverted mom does. And I've seen this play out. The DEs will get into a weird kind of introvert loop later in life. We had another client I was talking to us about. They're like, how is my dad an extrovert DE? Like he's tapped out in life and he just runs in his room and hides. And it's like, yeah, I know. Kind of scary. Like, take that in. Like, it's not supposed to be that way. The roles are reversing, and it is kind of a trauma thing or a growth thing, or kind of people will end up in life, and then you get this forced alpha thing where, then Kobe Bryant has to be the most extroverted guy in the room. The sleepier person has to step up and shift and take that role. But then what ends up happening is everyone's like, this is fucking weird, right? Because everybody knows something's off here. Why is the extrovert one being super introverted, and why is the introverted one being super extroverted? What is going on here, right? Like, you see it if you ever meet.
Is beating them down, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, and then
that's the feeling I get from my DE is like, hey, like, you want me to run everything? It's like, well, every time I try, like, it's
right.
You don't get credit. You like,
right.
No one respects the DI, and it's like, because of course the demon DI, I need to respect myself. I need to love myself, and I need to not put that on others, right? And
right.
that's what I'm seeing, at least for me. DE does get burned out,
right?
And
right.
yeah, the world's beating them down, and so they're like, all right, I tried going out there, it doesn't work. The Simmons, the FE guy, the workout guy.
Richard like Simmons. Richard Simmons, still hiding away.
Hiding away. It's like, how much did he put out there in the world? He gave, and then no one gives back necessarily. Like, who knows what happened? And
very much so. Yeah, the famous EJ alone hiding in the woods story type of energy dynamic. Yeah.
So a fun one. But yeah, it's just just a random comment. Drunk history, but drunk OP typing. That'd be interesting. I don't know. I know there's the neighbor's drinking is not your biggest cup of tea. Is not your cup of tea, but like, you guys.
I don't drink. I get headaches too easy. Yeah, I actually don't drink. I used to try and drink wine just from watching too much Gary Vee or trying to. I found kombucha. I do drink a lot of kombucha. And I get the ones that get the big container ones, the volume ones or whatever. But yeah, like I'm a real bitch to getting headaches, and then I might be having the wrong wine or whatever. But I haven't had. Don't really get drunk or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or it could be something, caffeinated, or whatever you got.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got go ahead.
No, go on. Hey, there's Regi.
So yeah, Regi, buddy. Career number one buddy. Okay.
Right.
Question.
One of the original number ones.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like with this stuff, I'm like following in his footsteps. Honestly,
Reggie was always trying to figure out, like, what? Like,
yeah.
Reggie was like, something's different with me. Like, yeah, something is different about you. And I think the social one makes a lot of sense. Like, that's why he's got a jet engine. Yeah.
Huge unlock. What career advice would you have for someone who has demon sleep and demon blast that wants to create a meaningful career path for themselves?
Yeah, right. Gosh, right.
And he actually just became a web developer or a software engineer or something like that.
Especially
since it's been mentioned in the live show that web dev is more tailored to introverts. So this is the original question.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. Gosh, it's the observers with the it's like the single deciders. Like, who should I marry? Where's my twin flame? What is the one person? Like, wait, what? The observers, when I run it by Shan or my ISTP buddies, they're like, yeah, what is with you guys, and like, which job are you gonna do or whatever? And I really try and like for me, it feels so real. Like, so like to me, that feels like the realest question. Like, what should I do for my path or whatever? It's like, so I have to, like, rather than getting pulled into it, I gotta like jump to the double observer thing and kind of look at what they're doing. I'll tell you, Reggie, what's been helping me out a lot, because one thing is this, I'll tell you this, at 46 years old, as I'm waving my hands, it doesn't fucking change, dude. It's not like you find your job or your career and you get settled. Like, really double observe and look that through. What the fuck do you think is going to happen in the next 20 years? Like, especially in today's age where everything is exponentially changing. Like, you're always going to be in the state of non-job security, not in the right job, not settled. And so the double observers are like, yeah, sweet, as long as I'm with my people. And so I've had to, because I used to have that really bad, and just watching that all fall apart with today's technology, I have found personally, so kind of find your own math, I have found comfort in kind of, I'm only responsible to map out like every 2 years, and then just continue to double down on the decider game of being the type of person that does X, Y, and Z. And therefore, no matter what job I'm at, I'm maximizing that, because there's going to be things you like, oh, I'm at this job, but I'm too extroverted. Okay, great. Then you go to this one. Now you're too introverted. Like, just, there's always a fuck off, right? And so I have found that I can't win the bigger picture game of like, how the hell would I find a place to where I can settle. I sure as hell don't want to do fucking YouTube forever, you know, or video production as my main thing or whatever. But it's like setting it, maybe lowering it down to you are only responsible to build the best fucking blocks for the next 2 years. And then, goddamn it, let future Regi solve the next equation. Current Regi doesn't need to do that. 46-year-old dumbass Dave doesn't know what to do, but I know that 55-year-old version does, you know? And all that.
Yeah,
where's Dave of all people? Like, where's he?
that's
He'll back
great.
me up on
That's
it.
great. Yeah, one thing I just want to say about Regi is just like I've seen his writing. I think he's a really good writer. I feel like a lot of NFPs are good writers or just FI. I don't know. If you can tap into that, like writing, like actually, Dave, you've been writing. Like, how therapeutic does that feel? Like,
Yeah, it's just hard and draining, but yeah, it's very therapeutic because you get the N and the S together for the observers. It's definitely a magic show to do writing as an observer. Yeah, it's just
yeah,
draining.
yeah, that's something I think Reggie's really great at. That I would love to see more from him on that. But like, just for
It
himself,
you're
like
just building
there's
a
yeah, yeah.
you're building a
Go ahead.
battleship, Reggie. Just like keep building yourself, your character, your skills. Like you'll be called off the war soon enough. You'll
Yeah,
find your fucking mission. Yeah, that's how I've seen it play out in real life.
yeah. All right. This is from
Snoop,
Saba.
social type.
He's a NITI.
Yeah.
Sleep, consume, play. He's a nice number 4 dude. Saba, good guy. He's oh yeah, here's his type just for the masculine.
Oh,
side
sweet.
here.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, what does he think?
Snoop, right?
Snoop.
I don't know. What's everybody think? He lives like a 1, I guess, but he's so funny and playful. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
He does.
That's a hard one. That's one I would probably want to take offline and like actually look into it.
Yeah,
But
doesn't
yeah,
really hit me as anything.
that I want to thank me energy. That feels like one, but like it's not. You know that I've made mistakes before, so
He's also kind of
you
like
can't go
joking
off
when
of
he's saying
one.
you got what's been fun to calibrate is Eminem is a 3, and
Yeah,
he's like, and that's why he's so fucking good. And you'll see this in the MMA fighters, the 3s versus the 1s, like the Diaz brothers. You know, it's just like you get Conor McGregor, who's a crazy number 1, and he's you know, he's not. They talk about like don't look past your current opponent, and the number 1s are looking past their current opponent, looking at the top, and they're not seeing that, you know, check to the side of the head, you know, where the 3s, like you get you know, clenched up with a fucking technician who's really, so it's like it makes sense why Darren Brown is so good. He's a 3. Only he could, like a 3 could put that kind of energy, and it's why they're like TV shows. He's like, nah, no thanks. Touring, no thanks. Just gonna keep specializing in. So I don't know. I would go that. So I guess what I'm saying is like I'd want to type Eminem as a 1 because he's so cool and he's got all the bling. And same with Snoop Dogg. I'm like, careful. He might
could be a 4
It could be. Yeah, because mopey.
because he smokes a lot of weed. Like that's
Yeah, it's
the
true.
bar. He's like the bar of do you smoke more weed than I think
Right.
Cat Williams? I don't know if you.
Oh,
is
that
very
she's the
epic.
one. I saw her with Theo.
Wait. Cat Williams is a dude.
Who's Cat Vaughn? What's the one with the that looks like Shanny's sister?
Oh,
Cat Van Don. Cat. Help me out here, somebody.
oh
It's
man.
the gothic girl, older girl. She was on Theo. She was on Theo Vaughn the other day. Come on, what's her name?
Oh man.
Cat,
No,
right?
don't
Where's
know.
everybody?
Don't know. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You know, so Cat Von D, K Von D.
Is it that?
Cat Von D.
Look up on
It
Theo's
might be
podcast.
this.
Yeah, Cat.
It might
The
be
gothic,
yeah,
the gothic
yeah.
girl.
We got the ST. Nice.
That's
Good job.
Shanny's sister. And he's, hey guys, talks in that same voice. That's such an interesting type. The SEFEs. Yeah, that's it. We'll look out for those.
But yeah, there's I think we're closing out to the end here. It was really nice having a lot of good energy in the chat. Glad we got some questions. There's this, you know, Sammy J's here. You know, we got a lot of
Sammy J.
people. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
That's our buddy. She's always in the comments, backing us up.
My feminine FI got spotted. And yeah, a lot of this is Abby. Oh, okay, I got it wrong. It's Abby, the
Oh yes, I know Abby. Yeah.
double feminine.
Yes.
number
Yes.
2
Yeah.
IGP.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Number 2.
Glad
Right.
we got
yeah.
the correct record on that shit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when you got to flex. You know, you got the. I have to say, people with the profiles, like my profiles, always look intimidating, but on the
Wait.
other side, like people with friends, it's very low key, so you can't even see. Wait, who are you?
Let me ask Abby real quick, just because
Yeah.
she's here. Abby, I was going to send you an email. I was looking for ideal clients that have their doc and their video well put out, because I want to do the video typing page. You'd be like, hey, could everybody do your videos and your doc like this? And I was looking through the clients, and I landed on your doc, and it was randomly just one of the, you know, it's nothing. I don't want to give you too much flex, but it was really well. So I wanted to ask you if I could use like your layout. You know, we would change your name or all your private information or whatever, but I want to be able to give people a sense or example of like, this is what a well filled out video typing doc looks like, rather than me just blaster saying it, and then having them be able to see the extra video, the pictures, the little write-up, stuff like that, and also seeing that it's not like impossibly hard to do. I just thought you had a good balance. Anyways, I'll send you an email about that, but I wanted to ask you if I could make some kind of a version to use you as an example and not get you embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Abby.
She ran away.
You've gotten the Good Student Award, courtesy of Tiana here with a funny comment. And then we got Nick Stride. What's crack-a-lackin'?
Yeah, there's Dawson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dawson. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the guy I was thinking about, where it's like, you know what, dude, just go out and live your life. When you hit a ditch, just readjust. He's like, Roger that. I was gonna do it anyways. I'm like, thank you. Talking that with him really helped that out.
Yeah. But yeah, see ya, everybody. It was really good having everyone in the comments. I felt the energy, and Dave, it's been great having you on, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Take care, everyone.
All right, everybody. Thank you. See ya.